You'll have to unmute yourself, Carmine.
Reverend Father, life members, past state chairman, state councillors, brothers, welcome to our 2021 state seminar. Thank you, Brother Andrew, for being our gatekeeper today. We'll open with prayers, so if Brother Andrew can put it up on screen. Thank you.
Okay. Go for Carmine.
Oh, you haven't got her up yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I can't see it, but that's right. Name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Let me just do it.
Be present with us, O Holy Spirit. For it is in your name we are especially gathered today. Come to help us in our affairs and be pleased to enter our deliberations. Let us instruct us in what we should do. Let it be you, first of all, who inspire our suggestions. May you who love justice, let us not offend against justice or charity. Grant also that we may act intelligently. Keep us by the gift of your grace in harmony with your will, so that we may act as one with you, who with the Father and Son live and reign, God forever and ever. Amen. Family commitment prayer. Heavenly Father, we believe your Son is risen and present within our homes. We thank you for this. We also believe on the word of your Son, that anything we ask from you in his name, you will grant. We gain confidence from this, with trust in the loving presence of your Son in his name. And we ask you to strengthen us in sincere commitment we make to practice regular family prayer in our homes and to strengthen the family in our society. We make this prayer to you through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. And if we just recite the objects of the order: to promote the advancement of Australia, to foster Christian way of life throughout the nation, to promote the welfare of its members and their families, to encourage spiritual, social, intellectual activities amongst its members, to conduct and support educational, charitable, religious and social welfare work. If I can just call for apologies. At this point in time, the ones that I've got, so if anybody's got any, just unmute yourself. But John Starmans, Brian Storr, Harold Hurren, Jim Gray, Terry Farrell and Mark Farrell. They're the ones I've got at this stage. Are there any other apologies? Just unmute yourself and just...
Les Garrett from Long Beach.
Les Garrett?
Garrett, G-A-R-R-A-D.
Yep. Anybody else?
Nick Corica from North Dandenong.
Thanks, Brother Tony.
Colin Walsh.
Colin Walsh. Thanks, Glenn. Okay. So thank you for being on time. And I think, Andrew, how many do we have at this point in time? So about 50, I think it is. Need to unmute yourself, Andrew, but that's all right.
Sorry, Brother Chairman. We have 41 at present.
41.
Now you'll just have to bear with me, Carmine, because I'm trying to juggle a few things at once.
That's okay. I appreciate that. No problems.
Yeah, can I just say,
I had to chase up our first speaker, so you'll have to.
Is he here?
He should be coming in a minute.
Okay.
Can I just say, Colin Walsh speaking. I was listed as an apology, but I am here.
Oh, g'day, Colin. How are you?
That's what I said.
Thank you.
No, sorry, brother Colin. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is I'm not an apology. I was listed as apology, but I actually have made it to the meeting.
Oh, well done. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Just sorry, Brother Chairman. Apologies for today. Brothers John Starmans, Brian Stahl, Harold Hurren, Jim Gray, John Wolf, Patrick Morell, Des Duggan, Terry Farrell, Mark Farrell, Colin Welsh of Mildura, Les Garrett, Nick Corica. Is there anyone else?
No.
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, now we're just got our guest speakers on his way, but the Order Development Committee has planned the day. There are going to be many interesting topics on the day. Everybody should have received the agenda. At the end of the day, we're looking at having an open forum. We're hoping to be out by about 3:30. We'll have probably either a 5 or 10 minute break at the halfway mark. I'll just ask for what people feel is better, 5 or 10, and we'll take it from there. What I might do, I might actually, if Joe's not here, is he hooked on?
No, not yet.
What I might do then is move from Joe to our first guest speaker, if that's all right.
Yeah, by all means. If he's ready,
right?
if he's ready.
Yeah. Jordan, are you ready to?
Yep, sure am.
Okay, well then, sorry about that. Our first speaker's not here, but if I can just call upon one of our youngest members of the KSC in Jordan Grantham from Bendigo, if he can open the proceedings with a talk on media and publicity.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Brother Carmine, Father Tony, members of the State Council and all other brothers who are here. Thanks so much for having me speak to you about a topic I'm very passionate about, which is the church and the media. So today's talk, I think, will go for about 20 minutes with 10 minutes for discussion, questions and your contributions. Everyone can hear me fairly well, Brother Carmine?
Yes.
I'm coming through? Okay, yeah. Brilliant. And the talk will have a few sections. So first of all, I'll be talking about what media can't do. Media is not the most important part of the church's mission by a long shot. Then I'll talk about what good media can do. And then I'll speak about what the media has been doing in Victoria, covering about the last 10 years, very briefly, in terms of the church, in terms of mainstream media, and finally, what the Knights might do in terms of media and how it can support our mission. And I'd like to say the Knights have some great strengths in media, and I'll touch on those towards the end of the talk. So what the media can't do? Well, public relations and influential, positive media in mainstream society is often seen as something that can be a bit of a cure-all, something that can perhaps cover up mistakes or distract from weaknesses of different organisations and individuals. People sometimes say, oh, well, if only the media weren't so biased against Cardinal Pell, for example, or if only they would run some positive stories about the church, that would solve a lot of our problems. It would solve some problems, such as introducing a bit of balance and realism into what they share about us. But it wouldn't solve all our problems. It also wouldn't make the problems that we're aware of go away. It also wouldn't give us, a good media doesn't give us a mission, give us a strategy, something that Brother John Hennessy speaks about in his Order Development Committee, which I'm very pleased to volunteer with. You can't replace a vision, a strategy, and an energising mission with a little bit of publicity. That said, there are wonderful things that good media can do. It's excellent for morale when there's a positive story about the Knights, for example, or about individuals that are doing great work. That really boosts morale, and that's something that can have an effect across a whole organisation. from the top all the way down to, even members who may not be as active as they once were in the Knights or in any organisation. And I think a key part of leadership is keeping morale high. Brother Carmine is very strong on that, and that the Knights are things are good for the Knights, things are great, and things are getting better, which is really important, because there's not a lot that leaders, in my view, can do that affect everyone in an organisation. They might think there are things they can do, but they can affect how people feel, which is something I wanted to talk about in terms of the past 10 years. A lot has happened in Victoria. A lot has happened globally for the church in the past 10 years. I think it was almost 9 years ago that Pope Benedict abdicated, something that really shocked the whole world. Hadn't happened for many centuries, maybe 800 years, I'm not sure. But that sent earthquakes of confusion, indecision around the church. And one of the good things about Pope Benedict's style of communicating, which had different weaknesses as well, was that it was very clear. And it was especially clear for the most involved base of supporters of the church. So people could hear those messages and be quite energised on the grassroots level. Something wonderful, I'll skip around a little bit, jump around a little bit, but something wonderful that started in Melbourne was something called Catholic Voices in 2013. I thought this program, this little organisation, had so many strengths to it. It was consisting of lay people of a range of backgrounds, men and women, young and old, different ethnicities, and also people who had different personalities. Some who are a bit more street smart, tougher, blokier, and others who, might be a little bit more able to appeal to the inner city set as well. And this organisation had great success, appearing on a lot of the radio stations, television stations, talking about big issues in the church. Initially, defending our wonderful beliefs to the media and an often hostile audience, but doing so very well because they had training, they were a team, and they were very relatable, normal people. So they didn't have that media bias against them like members of the clergy and the bishops might have. So that was a wonderful little period. Pope Benedict abdicated in the early days of that, of Catholic Voices existing in Melbourne. So they got a shot in the arm from that as well. They were interviewed very widely to speak about what's happening. But something that was interesting was within a couple of years, those groups, that group, Catholic Voices in Melbourne, and Catholic Voices groups more widely started to become quieter. Their morale was going down. And I would say that's a failure of the media team who were supporting Pope Francis. And we've had Pope Francis's main media guy, or media director in Australia, speaking to the Australian Catholic press. That was last year by Zoom. And I think it's fine to criticise the people that popes and archbishops have around them, and to do so from a place where we're wanting them to succeed, because that can lead to improvement. We don't want an echo chamber where everyone's giving themselves a pat on the back in terms of how a team should function and what the next steps might be. So that said, what media can do for the church. Good media can be a witness, apart from providing high morale on the natural level. On a spiritual level, Christ said, "You are my witnesses." We can be witnesses in a powerful way through the media, day to day, with everyone we know, but also much more broadly, reaching thousands and sometimes millions of people, even in Victoria. And so that's an opportunity we can touch on a little bit more. I'd also like to share some collegial criticisms of, or a bit of an overview of what's been happening in church media in Victoria. So I used to be the Sandhurst Diocese's media man, and was editor of the Sandpiper, which is now an email newsletter. So that's been a trend over the past 5 years in Victoria to, unfortunately, end the print side of our publications. I think maybe the last hard copy publication might be our diocesan community in the Ballarat diocese, as well as the Ukrainian Catholic Eparchy's newspaper, which is not in English. It's mostly in Ukrainian, which I guess is a challenge for it to reach a lot of its younger members as well. Those young Ukrainian Catholics who may not be that fluent. And so I think it's a real shame that Catholic life in the Sale Diocese, for example, was closed, and not just in print, but the online news presence in the Sale Diocese is much more limited since it closed. The reach of the Sandpiper has certainly gone down since it went digital only as a newsletter. Melbourne Catholic has stopped being, first it was Kairos, which was I think, which I argue was a bit more accessible. It was lighter, not as heavy as the Melbourne Catholic magazine. But even that magazine had something about it that was, I think, not reflecting the life and culture of parishioners. Had many interesting articles in it, but some people would say it was a bit pretentious at times and quite out there and heavy, not comfortable for some people to read, and inaccessible price-wise. I think it was about $5 an edition. But that is now closed as well, and it's just online and an email newsletter. So if you're looking for media leadership from the church, in Victoria, from the bishops and the Archbishop, I think you'll have to keep looking, I'm sorry to say, because the media organisation of the 4 dioceses is really lacking. Obviously, where things have been toughest in terms of mainstream media is in the Ballarat diocese. This year is the 10th anniversary of the Victorian inquiry into abuse against children, and obviously Ballarat has copped the most flack for considerable crimes that took place by priests there. But the Ballarat diocese, ironically enough, does not have even a single media professional working in the chancery. I think that's a real own goal. I think that's so tragic. That's something that affects the church in Australia, not just in Victoria, church around the world. Didn't have a media professional there to respond, to give advice and guidance. So we might think that things are bad in terms of how the church is represented in society, which would be true, but it can get worse. It can get so much worse, which is something that I think is why we've ended up in the situation that we are. The strategy has been lacking. I argue that in church media, they often get the middle part of a strategy right, which is that we have to do something. We have to do some tactics, some activities that will try to achieve a positive outcome. But they don't get the first bit or the last bit very well, which is asking ourselves, what are our goals and what is the situation, really accurately measuring in depth how the church and how Catholics are represented across society. And they don't get the last bit right, which is asking ourselves, how did we go? Evaluating and measuring those activities that they did in the middle. Because without that, we really don't. It's the blind leading the blind. If we don't actually ask ourselves, was that a good strategy? Did we achieve what that strategy could have done? And then to modify our behaviour and improve how we engage with the public. I think that's so important. Something that is quite tragic in the Victorian diocesan media world is that the communications people very rarely spoke to each other. One thing, a small thing I'm proud of doing is having created a forum in which we did start to talk to each other and could communicate with each other rapidly. So I made a point of introducing myself and other diocesan media people to the other ones, which just started the flow of communication. For example, if The Age called up asking about a particular problem, particular story, they were probably calling all the dioceses to ask for their opinion. And if we're not all on the same page, that looks terrible. Then the media can run rings around us and say, oh, they're contradicting each other. They're hopelessly disorganised. Where's their professionalism in how they respond to this very serious issue? And maybe there's a lesson that needs to be learnt from that vulnerability that the church has. One thing that we do have going for us, though, in terms of mainstream media, is News Corp and the Murdoch empire. There are lots of Catholics who work for News Corp, the Australian, some in the Herald Sun, not as many. Sky News, lots of Catholics. I tell you, there are probably about 6 Campion College graduates who are now working as producers for Sky News Australia. Not many people would realise that. And it's not the biggest television station either, but I think that's a very positive thing to have in your quiver. And I'll touch briefly on why I think Murdoch, who has a strong connection to Melbourne, might be favourable towards Catholics. And that is, he himself, his family came from a deeply religious background, but one that historically the Knights would have fought against quite a lot, which is the Presbyterians. Rupert Murdoch's grandfather was the head of the Presbyterian Church in Australia. And that's I think I've done a little bit of research on Rupert Murdoch as part of my studies, which I'm very grateful to the Knights for having supported and allowing me to complete, hopefully in a few months. And the key to Rupert Murdoch, in my view, is his family history. He's all about the dynasty, where the family's going, and continuing his family values, the values that his family have held in such high esteem. Rupert is a knight of the Order of St. Gregory the Great, which some of us might have forgotten about, and which is open to non-Catholics. And he was a huge donor to the Cathedral of Our Lady in Los Angeles, Our Lady of the Angels, like the city. It's also possibly where he could be buried, because he donated so many millions of dollars there. And I think under canon law, if you're married to a Catholic, then you can be buried there. There might be some question marks as to which marriage the church finds is currently valid, but he certainly for a long time was married to a Catholic lady, in anyone's perspective, who is the mother of his sons, Lachlan and James. I've got a message from Andrew, and maybe that's a message that it's I've got maybe 5 minutes to go. Or is that what you're saying, Andrew?
No, it's related. It's related to your talk, but it's just information for yourself.
Oh, brilliant. Well, maybe during the discussion, you can ask that again. I can't quite see it, but how am I going for time? I've got probably another 5 minutes of talk and then 10 minutes of discussion.
You've spoken for 20 minutes so far.
Oh, great. Thanks. Well, I'll go to my last section, which is what the Knights might do. So the Knights have a lot of strengths in terms of their media and communications. I get the Crusader, and that's such a strong publication. I think the fact that it comes out regularly and in print is a great motivator for us to have important content and to speak to each other. And it reaches people who are not going to get online. It also reaches people who don't like to spend a lot of time online. We know from the research that people read less when they're online. If you're on your phone, there's a lot of competition, messages from your friends, videos or whatever, phone calls, games if you're on your phone or laptop. But in print, if you're sitting with this in front of you, obviously there can be many other distractions, but not from what you're actually focusing on. That's with digital, you're focusing on something that has distractions built into it. So we know that there's great strength in print, and I think it has a lot of heart. I think Michael Palmer does a great job, and I think it's something we should all try to support with content and contributions. So well done, Michael, and all the team there. Another thing is Mr. Vaccaro himself. He's very good at reaching out to the media. There was a great letter to the editor about the lockdowns and different restrictions that were discriminating against us that Andrew helped organise. So I think there's a lot of talent there and a lot of opportunity for increasing that. I guess what I'd like to do in my little strategy that I'm researching is to find lots of local opportunities. I have access to the databases that are quite expensive, but thankfully I have access to the databases to have the mobile phone numbers of the TV producers, of the radio producers, the local journalists. And so what I would love is to, in a very authentic way, share the positive, great things that the Knights are doing. And there are dozens, I'm sure there are dozens, if not hundreds of examples of those sorts of things in Victoria. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing in partnership with everyone. And also going back to Catholic Voices, which was getting on the front foot and getting the church's message out there, was maybe starting something a little bit like what Catholic Voices used to be. So for those who have a passion for it here in Victoria, we don't have to wait for the bishop's secretary's contact to get on the front foot. We're prepared as well, and we have a right as members of the baptised. We have a right and a duty to share and defend the faith, and obviously in a way that is respectful and has the blessing of our authorities. But I think that would be a great strength of the Knights in years to come, and something I'm really looking forward to working on with all of you. So thank you so much for humouring me and listening to my talk. God bless, and maybe now we can have some discussion and some questions.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Jordan. First of all, open to questions for Jordan.
Just raise your hand if you have a question. Does anyone have a question?
Yes, I'll ask one.
Yep.
You spoke about the sandpiper.
Just introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Des Lanigan from Wodonga, branch chairman. With the sandpiper, did that only go electronic because of COVID-19, or were they closing it down altogether?
Well, I think both. No, it's not closed down altogether. It is now an electronic newsletter, an email newsletter with articles online. That happened during my time, but against my will. And COVID certainly added more pressure on the Sandpiper to close. But I would say the main reasons why the Sandpiper closed were because that's what everyone's doing in the view of the bishops. Everyone's going online and focusing on online. Print is the way of the past. So I think it was just following the herd mostly, and being seen to follow the others. You know, it's something you could tell your brother bishops about. Oh yes, we've gone digital now. We're just digital. And then the other reason was financial. But to be honest, the Sandpiper was not losing very much money, and depending on the ads, many of the editions made money. So, but the way people would argue is, oh, it's cheaper to go digital. It's you can reach more people through digital. I mean, you can, but the reality is, it would take a long time to ever reach as many people digitally as you know, the 13, as the number of people the 13,500 editions reached each month. So it's a little bit disingenuous to say, oh, we can reach more people through digital. So I really disagreed with that. And the Sandpiper was not perfect. It could have had more stories from Wodonga. Bendigo did tend to dominate, but Wodonga also has its own parish magazine, which is a really good publication. And Wangaratta has a good magazine as well, or which comes out from time to time.
Thank you,
I
Des.
said agree with your comment on the Crusader when we get it every 2 months, which is fantastic. And I'd love to see Sandpiper come back in its form monthly. You can take it with you wherever you go. You can sit out in the back deck and read it and have a coffee. It's portable, whereas electronic, it can get lost. Signing
It's
on
buried.
I got lost. I had to go searching for it.
Absolutely, it gets buried. There's a lot of competition online, and less of an experience as well. It's less relaxing to, you know, have a coffee with your phone or with a laptop compared with, you know, having a nice coffee with the Crusader or the Sandpiper.
Brother Jordan, in regards to the KSC, look, I know we're very fortunate to have yourself organise a bit of media time on the Win TV earlier this year, and that was excellent. So that was at one point in time, it was the first time that I can recall that for many years that KSC had been on any form of TV. But the chairman of Bendigo at the time, Brother Tom DeBally, Jordan and myself got probably about 30 seconds on Win TV, so that was good. Even though I think our session took about 20 minutes, but you know, played about 30 seconds of it on TV. It was good publicity. But where else can you see how the Knights can get involved in things? How we could show our presence? Is it because of, like say, the Archbishop's dinner? What else?
That's a good one that could be promoted more widely. And well, I think all the night's activities. I mean, you look at the Crusader, look at Barney's picnic, for example. That looked phenomenal. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it that time. I was up in Sydney with visiting family. But I think things like anniversaries of branches are a good one. You know, when it's the 100th anniversary of a branch or a good big number.
Yeah.
And in going through the strategy I'm putting together, I'll be able to help identify those opportunities and plan ahead with people who are interested from branches, because it might be, you know, the presentation of life membership to a member, or it might be a new project. I remember in Shepparton, there was the maybe on the 7:30 report on the ABC, tractors for Africa. Yeah, it's Timor, which was another great opportunity to share the good work that we do. And I think we'll be able to identify many more opportunities as time goes by, because once the media starts to realise, the other forms of media are covering a story. So with our little Bendigo story, we're on. It was in the newspaper, the Bendigo Advertiser. It was in ABC Radio Bendigo, and it was on the local TV as well. And they do, they do follow the leader.
On that, we've got 3 more questions.
Oh,
so we'll
sorry,
make them the last 3 questions.
Okay,
John
I'll be quick.
John Watson first.
No, hang on. I was gonna do it for Carmine. Brother John Bruce was the one that asked first.
Okay.
Brother John.
Thanks, Andrew. You can hear me?
Yep.
Jordan, thanks for your talk. I can't help feeling that what you have said, whatever we are doing is not in an organised fashion. We're not thinking statewide, and we're not operating according to a strategy.
That's right.
I'll back up, Jordan. Over the last couple of months, in fact, last year, we took time out to assess with the members what they were looking at, and that's when we carried out our monkey survey. There was a lot of information came out of that. Early this year, we had a workshop, and that workshop has now distilled with the information from the monkey survey for acceptance by State Council that going forward, we have 6 committees. One of those committees will be a communication committee. The other one is training, faith and fraternity, church and clergy, social justice, and governance. But in terms of the communication one, I see that there's a great opportunity there for a strategy for the Knights, looking forward at our capability. And it's our capability in both the written world, the printed world, and also in the digital world, where we are not all that competent at the moment. In fact, a lot of our members are scared of the digital world. But if we're not there, we're missing out. But we have to learn how to exist in the digital world in a way that we can't be abused, but we can let people know that we respect them. What I'm looking for from this communication committee is a strategy for the order. And now I'd really like your thoughts on the kind of people that we should have on that committee. And first of all, yourself.
Oh, thanks, John. Well, I'd love to support the committee, and I that's what I plan to do when the time when the time comes, when it begins. Or anyone who's interested and has a passion for engaging with the media is a good start. Secondly, I guess a good quality is people who are not too grumpy, or if they are grumpy, as I am, they're able to not just be stuck in that mode, because you don't want to just hop on. I saw one of the worst things with a Catholic order in Rome. They interviewed their comms manager in this magazine that you get in airports, and he was just whinging about how hard his job was. So that was a missed opportunity, because that's all they took from him. So those are two good qualities: interested in the media, and has positivity, doesn't just see all the terrible things that are going on.
Andrew, Jordan, there's still a couple more questions, so we'll move.
Yeah, let's move on. And I've got other digital strategies up my pocket for a job.
Jerry?
Thanks, Dan.
In my pocket.
Jerry Van East, Dan on North Chairman. Just a quick comment for hands up. It's down the bottom of your screen. You've got a reactions thing there. If you want to have a comment, it's where you put your hand up. And the other thing, Jordan, thanks for your comments about the media. I just can't help but disagree with your comments about the Australian in particular, and Murdoch in particular, and how much of that is maligned on the ABC and SBS. So I feel a bit saddened about some of those things, but certainly very good about the media comments.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for the feedback and welcome disagreement.
Thank you, Jerry. John Watson?
Brothers, I actually edited the KSC's Facebook page, and of the 693 members, there's only 8 members on the Facebook page. I do share Brother Andrew's stories from different events he attends. Been advertising the Priest Support Education Fund whenever there's an article from Andrew on it. But there's not a lot of contributors. I do have members from New South Wales, South Australia, Nigeria on the Facebook page. So we are getting out somewhere into the digital space to publicise our activities. I would think maybe we don't have to need a lot more members on the page, so we can try and get our messages across better in the communications and digital space. Would you agree, Jordan?
Oh, definitely, John. And that's something I'd be interested in being one of those people as well, to help support your activities there on the page. And it connects to what John Bruce was asking about digital strategies. It is there are good ways to implement a program that can be planned ahead for months. You can schedule posts to go up, which in a large organisation is very helpful to make all of that manageable and time efficient for busy members as well.
All right, thank you, John. Now the last question from, sorry, we've got 2 questions, one from Ken and then one from Father Kerin. So we'll start with Ken.
What Facebook page?
It's called the Knights of Southern Cross Victoria Inc.
Yeah, okay. I'd never heard of it, therefore I'm not on it. Now that I've heard of it, yes, I will join.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, just remember to put the branch number in, please.
Brother Chairman, I might just ask if our state chaplain has a comment.
Yes, thank you. Father Tony?
Yeah, I was just talking about the social media and the impact of Twitter, WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook, and the capacity to spread the message by sharing, liking and commenting. You get a multiplier effect out through people's social media connections when you do that sort of thing. So it's the digital media needs to be disciplined. You have to be careful you don't like stuff that's opposed to the values of the order. Even if you think it might be funny, it needs to be disciplined and on message, but it does have an impact. So I'm just looking for some comments, Jordan, about how we might maintain that discipline and that outreach.
Oh, thanks, Father Tony. And this connects to what Brother John Watson was asking about, which is it's quite feasible to actually just one second. Sorry about that, everyone. I'll just since this is the last question.
There's
I'll be brief. Second last question. Well, yeah. There are programs that allow you to schedule the posts and duplicate replicate the posts across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. WhatsApp is more internal comms, but other forms of social media as well. TikTok, that's a big one amongst youth, and even people in their 30s are very active on TikTok, sharing videos. So there are manageable ways, and when you're working as a team and there's someone who is familiar with how to keep things under control, that can be quite effective and shield people from negative backlash and also things that can go wrong. You know, it can be quite upsetting and can get out of hand when, you know, let's say you have 100 Twitter trolls who are all really nasty people just saying disgraceful and disgusting things. So, which happens a lot. But thanks, Father Tony. That's a great point.
Thank you. And our lucky last one will be Brother Andrew.
Thank you, Brother Chairman. As Brother Jordan mentioned in his address just before, a couple of weeks ago, I had a letter published in the Herald Sun, and this was regarding the treatment of funerals during lockdown. And it's a good example of us as order members getting our word across. I particularly passionate on this issue in the last couple of months. I got that. So that was in about 2 weeks ago, I believe, in the Herald Sun. There's the in digital form. I can make that available to members if they wish. Also, in terms of Brother Jordan mentioned about journalists, particularly in News Corp media, the Catholics in there. One particular journalist that I'm good friends with is a recent parishioner of mine, and I know quite well, is Suzanne Delabasic. You may have seen her on Sky News and on the front page of the Herald. She gets frequent front pages on the Herald Sun. That's her there. She's an up-and-coming young journalist, and she's also a devout Catholic. She's been baptised in the last, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago she was baptised, but she's a very devout Catholic. But although I think she has to hide that at times, given the nature of the job. But she's one that her articles are well worth reading. And also in terms of profile, in terms of media presence, personal social media presences, just as my own examples, I tend to publish a lot of stories and different articles and links, and sometimes my own opinions on these on my Facebook page, and also on Twitter as well. I am a frequent publisher. I find Twitter to actually be quite good because I tend to avoid the troll websites and avoid the trolls. So I've found that, but they're great ways of sharing our media across.
Thank you, Andrew. Jordan, thank you very much. We're blessed to have Brother Jordan within our group, and we need to take advantage of it. And I would hope that he joins the communication committee and probably heads it up. But well done, Jordan, and we are blessed, as I said, and he is a young member. We're going to get more young members like him to join us. Well done. Thank you, Brother Jordan. And just to show you, I think his talk went for 20 minutes and question time went for 20 minutes. So you can see that there's definitely a scope in that field for us. If I can now ask Brother Joe O'Brien, our State Treasurer and the Chairman of the Constitution Committee, to update us on proposed constitution amendments.
Oh, good morning, Brother Carmine, Father Tony, fellow state councillors, brothers. Good morning to you all. I'll just start off backtracking just a little bit to talk about the Associations and Corporations Act. Sorry, can you just take that out of the way for the moment? The Associations and Corporations Act, that's the current act that our organisation adheres to, and that will be the act that we will continue to adhere to until such time as the new constitution that we're preparing is approved by the Consumer Affairs. Once the new act is approved by the members at the special general meeting to be held on the 18th of July, we have to lodge it with the Consumer Affairs within 28 days, and they will either accept it, insist on minor amendments, or reject it entirely. This new act sets out in Schedule 1 a number of rules which must be included in our new constitution, and to this end we've engaged a solicitor, Frank Ryan. Some of you might know him. He's a KSCV member and advertises in the Crusader. That's a plug for Frank. Now this new constitution, the main item that we're bringing in accordance with the model rules and the Act will include the general rights of members, disciplinary action, grievance procedure, state secretary, and a number of minor amendments. To assist the organisation to meet their obligations in setting up this new constitution, they've issued a set of model rules. And to this end, we have inserted a number of straight from the model rules into our new constitution. And these include the general rights of members, I think I've already mentioned, and the disciplinary actions. The model rules sets out to be run by a committee. Well, in our case, it'll be State Council, and our committee will be consisting of State Council, as you know, consists of State Chairman, Deputy State Chairman, State Secretary, State Treasurer, and we'll be able to add another 2 or 3 members to the State Council as we have at the moment. The point of contact between our organisation and Consumer Affairs will be the State Secretary, and he has to notify the Consumer Affairs within 14 days of his appointment. Now, the documents for the special general meeting, which is to be held on the 18th of July, to pass a resolution or a number of resolutions, I'll speak more about that in a moment, will be dispatched tomorrow. We've got it all finished, job done, and now the notice is going out, and this is it it's on the screen. Now, just hold that for a moment, Andrew, will you please? Back on to 6. You'll notice there the consideration of a following special resolution. Now, take note of this, please, that all the amendments in the Constitution of the Knights of the Southern Cross set out in the document titled Amended Constitution, circulated to members entitled to vote with the notice of special conference be approved. Now, that one is a catch-all resolution, which, if passed, negates the necessity to pass any of the other following resolutions. So we're all quite hopeful that that's the one that's going to get through. Well, now I think I was looking at. Yeah, well, that sort of lists all the various resolutions, but it doesn't say much on that screen. It just goes resolution 1 down to resolution number 8. But as I said, if we get that first one passed, we don't have to bother about all these. Now, the main reason that brought this up is the problem we have with the quorum. And you know, in our current constitution, the quorum is 50. In our new constitution, the number will be 15. We had suggestions from number 10 up to 25, and so we settled on 15 for no real reason, just to accept that it's somewhere halfway. Now, obviously, with the order going forward, the threat is that our numbers might continue to reduce, and we're all going to get older. So it's really necessary that we don't have a problem that we have faced with at the moment of having to get 50 people along to one of our general meetings. I mean, that's going to make things difficult in times going forward. So we've settled on a number of 15, which I think is workable. I mean, the quorum has no impact on the voting. The voting is separate altogether. I mean, the quorum is simply to call the meeting. What else we got here? Now, we've had to be very careful about drafting this constitution to ensure that we don't fall foul of the ACNC, the Australian Charities Not-for-Profit Commission. They're taking a very close look at people who currently have charitable status. Now, this would have quite an impact on our organisation if we were to lose this. So we've been very careful in how we've drafted the opening part of the Constitution. You'll note when you see it. Sorry, well, maybe you could bring it up, Andrew. Could you the front page of the Constitution? Next one. Thank you. Okay. Now you see we've got a different layout from what we had previously. The previous constitution started off with the objects of the order. Now here we've concentrated more on the purposes, and it's the purposes that the Consumer Affairs and the ACNC are particularly concerned about. And here we must be careful to not fall foul of what they're really after. So we have adopted some of the order, some of the objects you'll see here: the foster the Christian way of life throughout the nation, conduct and support educational religious work, advance the ethos. Now, advance the ethos of the Catholic Church. That gives us a bit of strength and concern as regards the ACNC, because that's for the purpose of religion. That's one of the things that they're okay with. Now we've got here congruence. You can read that as meaning in accordance with. I think people might have a bit of trouble with that one. Right? We had a little bit of a talk about that one. Now, just moving on to the powers and obligations. Could you just wind it down a bit, please, Andrew? Yes, you'll see here. These are the powers and obligations. The order now, as far as the ACN, the Consumer Affairs and the ACNC are concerned, these are one of the areas that they will be taking particular care with. And these are, in fact, where you see it's in black, they're the current purposes we already have in the order anyhow. And we've got one additional one here we've put in: to cultivate and promote mutual health and support among the members of the order, and operate in accordance with the objects of the Order of the Knights of the Southern Cross. So that goes on for a little while. Just go down a bit, please, Andrew. Yeah, well, these are all just we've got a lot of minor variations and renumbering and a few phrases changes throughout. You'll find that. Contributions, we've substituted subscriptions for contributions. And so on. I mean, the whole lot will be sent out to you. You should have it the next 2 or 3 days. And the meeting will be on the 18th of July. So that's about all I've got to say on it at the moment. Has anyone got any questions?
Thank you, Brother Joe. Any questions to, if you can just put up, just tick the reaction so as we can follow questions one by one.
Brother Chairman, just to make it clear to everyone, it'll be each branch, apart from state councillors, past state chairman, Knights of Honour, district chairman, it'll be each branch will receive a copy. So it won't be each member, it'll be each branch that receives a copy. So it's important that I have the details of the chairman or mainly the secretary, or if not the secretary, the chairman. So that's just to make that clear.
Okay. Yeah.
Questions?
So anyone who is entitled to vote will be receiving a copy. And anyone who would like a copy or can get hold of our website, it will be up on the website in the next day or two. After that.
The details will be sent via email.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
In that case, who is not entitled to a copy?
I beg your pardon?
Who is not entitled to a copy?
Who is not entitled?
That's right.
Well, the people who are entitled to vote, well, you've got the state council, you've got the delegates from each branch, 2 delegates from each branch.
Right. Okay.
You'll have the So when it goes out, and when you're welcome to copy it for other members or send it around an email if you like.
So every branch will get a copy of it, and you can also have an emailed copy if you want an email copy. But every branch is entitled to have 2 delegates attend the day, and we need 50 to attend on the day. It will be held via Zoom, so it's very similar to today, but we need two delegates from every branch, just so as we can ensure that we get 50 to get the current quorum.
Brother Chairman, I might just answer Brother Jerry's question to make it here. Everyone is entitled to review the Constitution, to have access to the Constitution, revised Constitution, and to review it. Okay. But in terms of the mail out, it will be at this stage limited to the voting right members and one to each branch, which will then be passed on to their 2 delegates. The idea is that each branch has to get 2 delegates to the special state conference next month. But every member, if anyone wishes to receive a copy of the Constitution, it will be up on the Order website, or they can request it via email.
You're saying that you're sending out hard copies?
Yeah, every branch will get
hard copies to the delegates.
Okay. Right. I just don't see the need to go to all the trouble of making hard copies when it's so easy to have them sent out in PDF format and you just read them on the screen or print off for yourself.
For the voting right members, it's I think I don't know if it's by law that we need to send it out by law.
Okay.
If I just mention the Constitution, the hard copy has been sent out. It's in any amendments are in colour red, and that includes any full stops, commas, paragraphs to be inserted. So when you're reading it, you can just go through and quickly see what the amendments are by looking at the red component.
Any other questions?
Oh, too easy.
Or as said, I'd just like to thank Brother Joe and his committee on doing a marvellous job in making the amendments to the Constitution. Now it's our job to make sure we can get 50 at our next Zoom meeting on the 18th to make sure we can pass these amendments. So I want everybody to go back to their branches and ensure that you have 2 delegates from every branch in attendance. Okay? Thank you, Brother Joe.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
If I can now call upon Chris Young, just to bring us up to date with going back to recommencing one of our KSC projects on public speaking. Chris Young, just unmute yourself, Chris.
Father Tony, Brother State Chairman, State Council and brothers. 75% of the population have some level of anxiety regarding public speaking. People often overestimate the stakes of communicating their ideas in front of others, viewing the speaking event as a potential threat to their credibility, image, and chance to reach an audience. It's the most common phobia ahead of death, spiders, and heights. The Knights of the Southern Cross has the potential to reduce the fear and benefit the population. Hopefully you will be able to assist. So here's my story and what I'm seeking from you. It was October 1986 when I joined the order, having known nothing about it prior to being invited. Attending local branch meetings, I soon became aware of the KSC public speaking course. I enrolled in that and in April 1988 received my certificate of completion of the course. The course had been structured by Brother Malcolm de Bock and 8 others in March 1980. The course's handbook, titled as Part 1, Students' Copy, stated, amongst other things, the publication is only an aid to the course and as such has little value on its own. The real value is in attending the course to progressively practice various techniques to gain confidence and to improve with a group of other people. The course was offered to many. It wasn't offered just to brothers of the KSC, but to wives, to children, and parishioners of parishes and the like. And a number of instructors gave their time to run the course. And as such, the success was unquestionable, positive and beneficial to all. Students were given the opportunity over 10 weeks to gain pointers, prepare speeches, giving life to a speech, control and use of their voice, plus various other techniques for various different occasions. It was perhaps unfortunate that with the ageing and the unavailability of instructors, together with the changing in population attitudes, a number of years ago, the course stopped. I say unfortunate because I believe my life would not have panned out the way it has if I hadn't had the involvement I had, both as a student and as an instructor. When I joined the order all those years ago, I was, as many are, timid and glossophobic. That is, a fear of public speaking. But after my involvement, it gave me a tremendous gain in confidence and improvement in myself in the company of others. It wasn't long before I became branch chairman, district chairman, state councillor, and plus it provided a confidence and benefit in my working life. However, my work and family commitment changed in the early 2000s. I drew back from involvement in the Knights, but I've always paid my subscriptions and read all correspondence that comes out, particularly in the Crusader. It was an article from 1970 in the October 2020 issue of the Crusader that took my eye. It noted about an effective speaking course for students. It got me thinking I'd like to be involved in doing something, a way of giving back for the benefits that I had received from my involvement in the basic public speaking course in 1988. I'm now semi-retired and have a little free time. I was disappointed to think that the course, so successful all those years ago, had been stopped. Very disappointed indeed, as I reflected on the benefits the course had provided to so many people. Contact was made with head office and then with the Order Development Committee, of which subsequently I have been attending meetings. I explained my belief of the benefits of recommencing the basic public speaking course, not only to the participants, but also to the Order, doing a significant project to assist the community. Let's say a win-win. The Order Development Committee have discussed the reintroduction of the course over its recent monthly meetings. We want to commence the course in the first quarter of 2022, but there is much preparatory work to be done. I nor the existing development committee can do it all by ourselves. Brothers, assistance is needed. To get up and running, we need to cover a number of aspects. The general preparation of a revamped handbook. Who do we target? What area will we commence in? We need to source a venue, venues, for example, training of instructors, sourcing of students, plus many other aspects. It will be a basic public speaking course with a minimal cost for student participation. So today I'm calling on you and your branches to get behind this exciting and beneficial Order project. Let's do it well and not with a half-baked approach. It was disappointing, my advert in the June Crusader seeking assistance has to date fallen on deaf ears. I have had no response to it, but still assistance is needed. It won't be a big task. Meetings for planning will mainly be via Zoom. Courses will be for a duration of 10 weeks. Handbooks will be provided to both participants and instructors. Each course will have 2 to 3 instructors. Hopefully each course will have up to 15 students. The assistance required now will be getting all the logistics together. A committee of 8 would be terrific. More would be fantastic. Spreading the load makes life easier. I have said the Order Development Committee, whilst I am wanting to get this off the ground, I will not be able to do it all by myself. So brothers, my invitation, my request, get behind this project so as the Knights can gain some additional recognition in the community. It probably dovetails in pretty well with what Jordan's talk was all about. Go back to your branches and ask if brothers are interested in being involved in this exciting, beneficial, and potential life-changing, enhancing project. A committee of 8 should not be out of the question. Logistic organising, as I said, will encompass the handbook finalisation. Much of its preparation has been done. We are not reinventing the wheel. Venues are needed, advertising, instructors, and training of the same. Partaking in a basic public speaking course can assist in reducing the fear of that 75% of the population experience. Let's have a hand in achieving something for the Knights and for those who will achieve a great benefit from being involved. The course worked for so many years. There is no reason why it won't be beneficial this time around. This will be my way, our way of putting something back into the KSC for the benefit of others. And hopefully we all feel the same way. My contact details were in the June Crusader. And I would hope that a summary of this seminar of today will include those as well. And I would request that contact is made. I would be hopeful that our initial planning meeting will happen sometime in mid-May. And I look forward to your contact and participation. With assistance, we can make this happen, brothers.
Excellent presentation, Chris. I don't think it'll be mid-May because we're already in the month of June now.
Sorry,
Chris.
mid-July, I meant, Brother Carmine. Sorry.
No worries. No problem. But no, look, I think that I was involved in one of the last ones that Tom Petrie was involved in, and I thought it was one of the best things I ever did in the group that I did it with. I think Brother Tony was one, and we had a few members from our branch, and we had 10 students from Nazareth College. And we were one of the last ones that did it. I thought that it helped everybody, and I think it's a great way to get the name of the KSC in front of schools again, and parishes names in front of areas. So, any questions to Brother Chris? We must have a few teachers amongst us, or retired teachers, which I think will be a great opportunity. Even our wives that are teachers. I just think there's a massive opportunity for this to really get off the ground. Because one person can't do it. We definitely need a team to be able to do it.
Brother Chairman, I'll ask Brother Peter O'Toole first.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the great presentation there. Fantastic job. I did this course in 1986, and I've just seen my certificate was signed by Duggan. I'm not sure the first name.
Yes.
Yeah, it certainly had a big impact on me at the time, and as probably many of you know, I don't hesitate in opening my mouth. So I've been very quiet today, and aim to be. But yeah, fully support it. Well done.
So does that mean you're going to join the committee?
I am not committing at this point.
Well, don't take too long to think about it.
So what I was showing on screen just before is a draft version of the manual that we're presently working on. It's based off the original manual that our past state chairman, Mal Duboc, produced back in 1980. So the Audit Development Committee is working on making appropriate revisions to bring it up in line with today. This will be finalised before the course begins, obviously, but the idea is that Brother Chris needs people to assist him with doing these presentations. So so what you're seeing on screen is just some of what the topics are that will be covered in the public speaking course. So we're working on that at the moment, but the aim is to have this up and running in the new year. So we need people to start to help Brother Chris with those presentations as soon as possible, so they can develop the training course.
Yeah, we would envisage there'll be a panel of teachers, and maybe one or two of those teachers, and then branches will need to assist which areas these public speaking course will be conducted in. So it's not going to be, it might be a branch, or say the North Dandenong branch might do one once a year in the, in their area, but you still need teachers and then branch assistants. But that's the aim. So if we get a pool of teachers, we'll just make Chris's job a hell of a lot easier, and your development committee a lot easier. There were no other questions, Andrew?
Any other questions? Brother Ken Rolls?
Just unmute yourself, Brother Ken.
Right, quick comment. When I was at school, we had a public speaking thing, and my mate was up on the stage trying to say something and getting nowhere. And it occurred to me that if he was standing here talking to 2 or 3 people, or even half a dozen or a dozen, he would have absolutely no problem. But because he's up on the stage, he's absolutely lost for words. And then I realised that I was in the same situation, that as soon as I got on the stage, I was lost for words. I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake, make a fool of myself or something. And I realised people are not waiting for me to make a mistake. So that very night, when it was my turn to get up on the stage, I got up there, I started talking, and I have not shut up since. And Peter O'Toole will vouch for that. Look, having an audience is the greatest thing since Adam discovered Eve. Another man has had 2 wives and 9 children. So it's just confidence. I can get there. Nobody's waiting for me to make a fool of myself. They're waiting for me to talk. And boy, can I do it. By the end of the year, I was captain of the college debating team, and we won. So it comes down purely to confidence that people are afraid of making a fool of themselves. As soon as you overcome that, you can talk. Forget public speaking. I can engage in public speaking and I can drone on while the audience dozes off. So forget public speaking and actually talk to people. I found it as simple as that. I hope others will find it easy also.
Ken, that's fabulous. So does that mean you're happy to join Chris in his committee to help him out?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Oh, well done, Ken.
I'm a young 84.
That's all right. You only look about 65.
My father lived to be 98 years.
You got longevity in the family there, Ken.
He died as a result of an accident.
Yeah, all right. No, thank you. But as I said, I'm not going to put no pressure on, but we'd like to have a few names so as that by our next development meeting that Chris has already got a panel of people we can start looking at approaching, and then we'll look at approaching areas. Okay.
Brother Chairman, Brother Chris, how many people do you need to start off?
Oh, look, I think 8 would be probably a good idea. The more the merrier, but I think if we can get people from various areas, 8 could be an idea of, one for venue looking and putting it all together. I've done a fair bit of work in just summarising what is needed, the day-to-day, night-to-night things, but I'm no expert in it. So I'd be looking for 8 initially, but we'll need more for instructors and everything like that, but it'd be good to start off.
Yeah.
And Brother Ken, I just on your word, and I won't take up much time, but that was what I found in the course that, look, the topics we spoke about were interesting, but it was the confidence of getting up and just being in that situation with a group of people unknown to you at the start, and being able to talk for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and just looking at pausations and voice, as I said, control. And it was the confidence that it gave you that changed my life.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. I think it's a fabulous project, and all branches need to get behind it. Okay, if now I can call upon Paul Mitchell, our Deputy State Chairman, just to bring us up to date with the restructuring of State Council.
Thanks, Brother Carmine. There was a question from somebody else before I get going.
I missed it if there was.
Ian Marshall was trying to get the word in.
Brother Ian, unmute yourself.
Yep, I did the course in Lanigan in the 80s, introductory and the advanced, and I'm happy to go on the list.
As a teacher?
Yeah, just see what happens.
Well, that's 2 down, 6 to go.
Thanks, Ian.
Are there any further questions on this topic before we move ahead?
Yeah, I got a question. When's the 5 minute break?
The 5 minute break is after Bill Lanigan talks.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions?
Yes, David Pignelli. Could we not use the word teachers, but use the word instructors? Teachers conjures up someone standing at the front of a classroom with a big stick trying to teach 431 kids in one room. So if we use the word instructor rather than teacher.
Good point, Dave. Okay, I'll move on to Brother Paul.
Thank you, Carmine. Father Tony Kerin, Chairman Carmine Miranda, and brothers. I've been asked to speak on the topic of restructure of State Council for action out of survey outcomes and committees. The title might be a bit daunting, but I'll give it a go to try and explain what State Council has been doing over a number of months. Thanks, Andrew. Just to give a little bit of background to what has been going on, last year there was a member survey which gave State Council a great insight into both what members were thinking, what they were doing as members of the Knights, and what issues they thought could be improved upon. Those experiences and issues took quite a bit of analysis to actually narrow down what 180 members had offered by way of advice. That resulted in a state workshop last March, and that provided some concrete information and decision-making processes for members of State Council and 8 other members who were invited to participate. The result of that workshop, whilst not providing solutions, certainly synthesised the primary issues that had been brought out of the member survey from the participants of the workshop own experiences, and both on State Council, districts and branches. And the Planning Committee of State Council put together a report with all that information and made some recommendations which have now been actioned by State Council and should lead to further activity in the not too distant future. Thanks, Andrew. Initially, the member survey was analysed on the basis of predetermined topics. The committee thought that promotion, culture, values and management were some umbrella avenues that may be of interest to the members. And they were broken down into 3 or 4 different groups again. Promotion covered comments received on membership, recruiting, the organisation itself, and awareness of our organisation in parishes across the state. Culture covered leadership issues, the ceremonies we use, the regalia we have, and the diversity of communication and membership. Values covered such things as church, clergy, social justice and faith. And quite naturally, that was by far the largest category which elicited comments. Management didn't get quite so much attention, but it included opportunities to talk about state council, district, branch activities, training that they were aware of, and communication itself within the order. Thanks, Andrew. But having those categories, of course, was only an initial step. We had to evaluate the experiences and issues that were put forward. And statistically, they were very significant because about a quarter of the membership took part in this survey, and quite a high percentage were quite good with the voluntary open-ended questions at the end of the survey. That was broken down on the basis of what we actually read in the survey answers into organisation structure, leadership responsibilities, governance, and cultural shift. In other words, what are the expectations and experiences of members with levels of responsibility and internal communication within the order? What are their experiences with planning strategies, operations, and the reporting effort that goes on? Some talked about the level of public communication we produce, the training that they would undertake or would not be interested in, and the feedback which they experienced. And on the topic of culture, we got many, many comments about being proactive in our faith, Catholicism, from responsive membership, and how that is received within the parish. Thanks, Andrew. All that information, along with other avenues and sources, was put before the workshop in March of this year. It wasn't a talk fest as such. It was well organised, and the Order Development Committee to be congratulated for promoting it and allowing others to help in this process. It began by using what is known as a co-design process, which is actually highly structured and gave instructions to the participants, of which there were 16, on how to do it. In other words, how the information before them would be discussed, analysed, and processed. The topic of the day was looking to the future. In other words, what is our purpose? There was then organised discussion. 4 groups of 4 brothers discussed the issues that had been raised by the committee, which came out of the member survey and other sources of information. Once those discussions were recorded on paper, each group made a presentation, and they had to report on the conclusions they'd reached during those conclusions. Then we all came together. It was quite a busy period in which workshop discussion analysed the main outcomes from each group. And then everybody was handed some sticky notes 5 to each person, and they had to vote individually based on what they had discussed, what they'd heard, and what their own personal priorities were, based upon the efforts of the day. So that meant there were 80 sticky notes, 80 answers, all based upon a full day's discussion. Once that was done, we were able to have a wind-up session, obtaining conclusions reached and what the attendees' perceptions were. And I must admit, we were quite pleased by the fact that all 16 participants and the MC were very, very confident that it was a good day. Thanks, Andrew. Analysing those 80 sticky notes that were provided up on a board, Christianity and faith issues predominated in the ranking of preference. Training and communication got a similar vote, but social justice issues also ranked highly, along with church and clergy and state council and order matters. So those 5 topics were seen by the planning committee as extremely relevant in what state council should be looking for in the future. Thanks, Andrew. The committee doing the report were not just interested in the numbers. We had before us the individual discussions within those 4 groups at the workshop. So we had a good understanding of where the voting came from and what it was based upon. But unfortunately, for the workshop, it was such a busy day and with a lot of information going backwards and forwards that no solutions were actually provided, only issues or topics for consideration. I think perhaps using the word issues is a bit too strong because a lot of the information was simply matters of importance. And the end result was that faith and fraternity, in other words, the hermeneutic circle of information that we are engaged in, was one of 6 important matters for consideration on how the order moves forward. Primarily because most of the activity that occurs by members is not seen within a parish necessarily as based upon the nights and its activities. So how do we connect the two? Training has been a driving force in discussion, and some members were keen to get help with how they run a branch. Others were not so keen, but the topic had a lot of discussion. There was a separate topic of church and clergy interaction. It has a connection, of course, with faith and fraternity, but we've heard today even that there is often a disconnect at many levels of how we interact with our clergy and how we engage as knights with the church. Communication fell out of all that in both public and internal matters. Are we communicating internally within our committees? Are we communicating well between head office and the membership? And are we treating the public sphere as important? Social justice got a separate mention simply because of its huge field of activity and the necessity for partnering with others. We can't do it alone. And at the end of the day, governance loomed large, both in branches and State Council, as being necessary to pull it all together. Thanks, Andrew. So what does all this mean for State Council? The workshop report was accepted by State Council in April, and it resulted in a decision to create 6 new committees. The purpose of those committees, of course, was to distill the information before everybody and work out ways in which we could answer those matters that were raised, keeping in mind that we'd had a member survey which had been analysed over a number of months. We had a workshop of senior members that confirmed what the matters of interest were, but we still needed answers on how to apply them in our day-to-day order activity. So those 6 committees, which I just mentioned before, were asked to prepare their own terms of reference so that they might consider how they would be formed, how they would resolve the matters before them, and what proposals for change might come out of them. There were no assumptions. All we had were 6 committees with 6 different topics for which they would be responsible. And it is our great hope that by September, those 6 committees will have met, discussed and reported on a regular basis what proposals for change at State Council can assist in taking the order forward in those areas. So what will be the outcome? We are waiting for those 6 committees to report and tell us what the outcomes should be. And once State Council has considered them, it is hoped that the annual State Conference will be in a position to let the membership know what your State Council proposes to do in addressing those 6 issues. Quite happy to answer any questions that arise, but the work is certainly before us, and those committees are yet to meet and start their work.
Okay, are there any questions? Anyone? Can you raise your hand or unmute yourselves?
You've done a good job at explaining all that, Paul. If no questions there.
Very thorough.
But one thing that we do say is that these 6 committees will need assistance in forming the committees. At this stage, they're only at their infancy stages, and a lot of the committees might only have 1 or 2 members. The aim is to have possibly up to 5 members in each of these committees. So if you once each group knows really their terms of reference, we might even get that out to the membership to try and encourage members to join these committees. Okay, I know there's been a couple of ads already in the Crusader, but we definitely would love to hear more from the membership in joining some of these committees.
Maybe
Brother Paul.
Oh, no.
I'd just like to add to that, Carmine, that I've been asked to convene the governance committee, and some of the members may have read the May bulletin and the June Crusader, where I put an invitation for committee members. I was a bit more successful than Chris Young because I actually did get 2 replies. And as a consequence, through my own efforts as well, there is a governance committee ready to start meeting. And I want to thank those members who've put their hand up.
Brother Chairman, might I ask the Deputy State Chairman to tell the members who's responsible for the various committees?
Certainly, yep. The Faith and Fraternity Committee is being convened by Brother Dominic Amato, our current CRO. The Training Committee is being convened by Brother John Hennessy, our Order Development Officer. Church and Clergy Interaction is being convened by Brother Andrew Vaccaro, who is waving furiously. Communication Committee is in the hands of Brother Michael, who is currently, of course, the Crusader editor. Social Justice is in the hands of the Brother John Bruce, who's the chairman of the Knights Consultor Division, and governance, myself, as I mentioned.
Thank you very much there, Paul. So the hard work's been done. Now we've got to try and build on these committees. And there will be more articles in the Crusader, but you know, if you get a phone call that if you don't put up your hand, you might end up getting phone calls to look at joining these committees. So we prefer if you put up your hand first. Okay, now we'll have one more session prior to a little 5-minute break. Bill Lanigan, if I can call upon Bill to say a few words regarding the social justice. Bill's another Waddy member, also a member of the Community Relations Subcommittee. Brother Bill.
Thank you, Brother Carmine, Father Tony, State Chairman, and brothers. I'm also the Community Relations Officer at Nunawading Branch. One meeting of social justice. Justice in terms of the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privileges within a society. It can have a lot of different meanings to each one of us as individual knights and as a branch. Social justice could be a subheading of each of the objects of the order. Nunawading Branch over the years has placed an emphasis on the 5th one, to conduct and support educational, charitable, religious and social welfare work. Can I just give you some examples of our take on social justice? Over the last few years, we have initiated and organised 3 appeals for Mary MacKillop Today's work for education of children in Timor-Leste. Education was foremost in the mind of our patroness, St Mary MacKillop. over $70,000 was raised from mostly members and branches in Victoria. Your support was greatly appreciated. We have supported Father Kevin Dillon's work with Lifeboat, which gives counsel to over 100 people affected by abuse in the church. We support the 10 Vinnies Conference in our extended branch area, and they in turn support our endeavours. Another of our endeavours started in 2011 when one of our members proposed a motion during my time as branch chairman. The motion called for the Knights to issue immediate release, welcoming boat people to a new life under the Southern Cross. The motion was fully supported at state conference, but rejected at national level. In December 2012, Knights participated in a national conference on the pastoral care of migrants and refugees held in Melbourne and organised by the National Bishops' Conference. Our branch has assisted several asylum seeker and refugee children transferring from primary to secondary school by purchase of iPads, uniforms, books, and even putting money on Mikey cards so they could get to English classes. Our program has assisted around 20 students, nearing $10,000. We have been assisting an Iranian family who arrived at Christmas Island by boat in 2011. They fled Iran because of imprisonment and also execution of family members. And also the husband is a member of an anti-government movement. They have suffered extensively through stress and anxiety, and their doctor advised us in recent years. On several occasions during the past 3 years, I've had cause to ask the father what would happen to him if he was forced to return to Iran, and I've been struck by the palpable fear and the change in his demeanour and voice. The branch arranged for a letter of support from our Supreme Knight of Australia to the Immigration Minister, but received no reply. The Australian Human Rights Commission advises the following. 1, an asylum seeker is a person who has fled their own country and applied for protection as a refugee. A refugee is a person who is outside their own country and unable to return due to well-founded fear of being persecuted. Number 3, under international law, the Australian government has obligations to protect the human rights of all asylum seekers and refugees, regardless of how or when they arrive and whether they arrive with or without a visa. Number 4, the Australian Government Department of Immigration makes an assessment as to whether the asylum seeker is a refugee in terms of the Refugee Convention. If they are found to be a refugee and satisfies health, identity and security requirements, they will be granted a protection visa. And my emphasis is on that, but not a permanent protection visa. And number 5, seeking asylum in Australia is not illegal, but is in fact a basic human right. Between 1948 and 1992, Australia successfully and peacefully resettled 452,000 refugees. At that time, asylum seekers were processed in the community and there was no policy of mandatory detention. During this time, over 100,000 were accepted from South Vietnam, which included arrivals by boat. Australia was viewed as a world leader in refugee resettlement, but not now. It is unique in the world with its policy of mandatory and indefinite detention. Why can't we return to the previous humane process? At approximately 10% of the cost and without the mental anguish, all asylum seekers who arrive by boat could be processed and cared for in the community. Offshore processing is costing around $1 billion per year. The vast majority of asylum seekers arrive by plane with a valid visa and then apply for asylum at a later date while living in the community. Only around 45% of plane arrivals are found to be refugees, whereas it is between 88% and 100% for boat arrivals between 2009 and 2014. Early this year, the then Home Affairs Minister, Peter Dutton, said it was cheaper for people to be in the community than in long-term detention in hotels. Of course it is cheaper, so why doesn't the federal government cancel its detention policy? A lot of us here today would have had ancestors arriving here in the 19th and 20th century by boat. I have no problem that my ancestors could be called boat people. Pope Francis gave a message on the occasion of the 106th World Day of Migrants and Refugees last year. Archbishop Prowse, Archbishop Delegate for the Pastoral Care of Migrants and Refugees, in his message of support for the Pope's message said, "This pastoral care of the Church towards migrants and refugees aims at emphasising and focusing on the following aspects named by Pope Francis: welcoming, protecting, promoting, and integrating." The Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference Social Justice Statement for 2015-16 was entitled "Justice for Refugees and Asylum Seekers for Those Who've Come Across from the Seas." Various Catholic organisations have expressed support and concern about the treatment of asylum seekers. The National Council of Priests of Australia issued a statement in support of the Bishops' Conference comments. It said that some priests who minister those in detention centres were very concerned for their welfare. Various religious organisations are strong supporters, including the Jesuits and the Brigidines. The Brigidine Asylum Seeker Project in Melbourne spends over $100,000 per month on the organisation of rental and utilities, which unfortunately is not being covered by its generous benefactors. Some of this shortfall was assisted by the recent generous distribution of $4,000 by our Knights Southern Cross Charitable Trust. KSC Queensland have a policy of supporting refugees, so it is up to Victoria to take some action. You can achieve this by writing letters to federal parliamentarians as detailed on page 8 of this month's Crusader. This action is the culmination of an Uttawading branch motion approved by State Council last September. This also includes writing a letter to the Prime Minister on the 25th of November and signed by our State Chairman, Brother Carmine, but no reply has been received. State Council is asking all members and family to write to the Prime Minister, Home Affairs Minister, local government, local member and Senate representatives. It is suggested that the letter that you write concentrate on refugees that hold temporary protection visas and safe haven enterprise visas, which have time limits. These people have been assessed by the Australian government as true refugees and deserve a permanent protection visa to allow them to stay in Australia permanently. They have been living in the community for years and could contribute more effectively if they had certainty. Please read the article for further details. It is timely today is World Refugee Day, which was established by the United Nations in 2000. It is mentioned in this week's email from the Cathedral. The article concludes with, "Hospitality to refugees must begin with hospitable hearts, but is not showing in government or opposition policies. I always thought Aussies gave people a fair go, but it is not happening to asylum seekers and refugees. At times I feel ashamed of being an Australian. This is a complex area and I don't profess to have all the answers. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Brother Bill. Any questions to Brother Bill?
Any questions? I might just like to add a comment that I think sometimes I think this issue has been taken over by the politics of it on both sides. I think what we've got to look for is the right balance between ensuring we have a suitable and adequate and generous refugee program or asylum seeker program, but at the same time we have to be wary of the fact that we have an immigration policy, we have a customs and border policy, and that ultimately we need to enforce that appropriately but fairly as well, because sometimes it can the politics gets into it and one side sort of advocates for no allocation of asylum seekers, but then the other side would like to see open borders, which we can't have in this country. Our country needs to be able to control its borders and determine those who genuinely do seek asylum and be able to process those who are genuine asylum seekers and determine the ones that are trying to flout the rules. So I think we've just got to be mindful and wary of our Catholic charity. As Catholics, we're called to be charitable upon our fellow brothers and sisters, but at the same time we also have to be mindful of the fact that we do need an ordered system in order to do it.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. Also, in the last Crusader, Brother Bill put an article about letter writing to our parliamentarians. So if you haven't already...
That's the article on screen. I was having some trouble bringing it up before, Brother Bill. So that's Brother Bill's article. It's on page 8 of the Crusader, of the June Crusader. And that's where Brother Bill's asking for members to write to our Prime Minister and to the government and that's a follow-up to the letter that was sent by our state chairman to the Prime Minister's office, to the Prime Minister and his office in November last year. So that's the letter there. I'll just zoom it out a bit so you can see the full body. If anyone wishes to receive a copy of that original letter, please contact myself and I can make it available.
Okay. If there's no other questions there, we'll call for a 5-minute break so everybody just stretch their legs out, and we will recommence in 5 minutes, and we will have our state chaplain bring us up to date with.
Should we make it 10, Brother Chairman?
We'll just make it that we'll be back here. What's the time now?
1:40. It's 1:40 now. Okay,
1:50. Everybody be back by 1:50, connected, ready to go. All right. So just stretch your legs, make a coffee, have a drink. Yep.
Have we got to sign out and
5 minutes to 2. So we'll get back onto it, and if anybody's not there, they'll join as soon as they're back. So. Our next guest speaker is the chaplain of our order, Father Tony Kerin. He's going to bring us up to date with all the update on the Archbishop Peter's plans on the future of our parishes. Without any further ado, I'll pass on to Father Tony Kerin.
Thanks very much, Carmine. Just exit that, and
you should be able to share. You should be able to share screen, Father.
Okay. Share screen. Okay, we got that?
Yep.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So, Father, how long do you think your talk will go for?
How long do you want it to go for?
No. You've prepared it, so you tell me how long.
About 10 minutes.
Is that all?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
And then we'll take questions.
Yeah, no problems. That's fine. Thanks.
Okay.
Father. Yep.
So this initiative by Archbishop Comensoli is about reimagining our local churches as mission communities. And it stems out of his Pentecost letter, which is called Take the Way of the Gospel. And you would have received that at your churches in the Melbourne Archdiocese, or seen it on the Cath News, or seen it on the Melbourne Catholic website, or the distribution of emails coming out. But basically, the Archdiocese is recognising the fact that the shortage of clergy means that we need to gather an economy of scale and restructure and rebalance the Archdiocese and its parishes. Part of the reason for that is that our inner suburban parishes were set up, built, and churches were constructed at that time based on the fact that most people walked to church. And so in the inner suburban areas, you might have 5, 6, or 10 churches all within 4 kilometres of each other, all within a half-hour walk of each other. Whereas when you get out more than 20 kilometres from the CBD, where our larger parishes are, people are now dependent on motor vehicles. The cruel irony is that the people who go to the inner suburban parishes also use motor vehicles, and very few of them walk these days. So Archbishop Comensoli said he's calling everybody in the diocese to see how we might identify and arrange mission locations throughout the diocese as focuses for mission and evangelical outreach. One of the things that we've been lured into over the years, particularly during the bad old days of the 1950s, which some people see as the golden days, but they were the days when we had an oversupply of priests, and we had an oversupply of churches, and we had great growth and development within the Catholic Church here. We built churches and parishes, and in fact, they cut off parishes just so that they could give priests a parish to look after in those days. Nowadays, there's been a change, and we have a shortage of priests, but an oversupply of churches. And so parishes were being merged or amalgamating or joining together. But the Archbishop's quite clear that he doesn't want to talk about merging parishes. This is not about amalgamations or closures of parishes, but rather grouping parishes together to work in mission areas, groupings of parishes. I'll talk a little bit about that later. He says there's no predetermined model. This is not a top-down imposition. This is an exercise in subsidiarity, where the local people who know the situation best, using models of data and logic and conversations at the local level, can identify the needs that people have. And if they can identify those needs, then they can devise the mission structure and strategy to address them and to take care of those needs. So there'll be places that are ready to embrace a mission quickly and others that will take time. No, it's not a race. Some are more developed than others, and some may need restructuring. Bayside Mission, for example, is somewhere that significantly needs restructuring. Initially, it was proposed as a way to bring together 6 very small parishes and to provide priests for those parishes. They appointed 2 priests and then another half priest as well, half-time priest to minister to those parishes. But they realised that they'd done it the wrong way round. And just by grouping those parishes together rather than the people embracing each other's parishes was not going to work very well. So it's about finding a way to build up communities of worship and faith and to engage parishioners as active participants rather than passengers. One of the mistakes or one of the bad habits that crept in during the abundance of clergy, abundance of churches, abundance of parishes era is that people got into the habit of a consumer mentality. Please put on mass when I feel like going. And so because we had the priests and the churches to do it, we could have masses on the hour all through Sunday morning and even Saturday night and Sunday night. Clearly, that's a consumer understanding of church and of parish, a passenger like rather than an active participant attitude to have. That's going to take some shaking in some places, particularly in older parishes where the church has paid off, but the maintenance of the church is now becoming prohibitive because they've only got 30 financial contributors left in that parish. And they've got a church that's paid for, but severely needing maintenance, that type of thing. But what do you do in a situation like that? When you say, oh, by the way, you can't have 4 masses of a weekend in this church anymore. We've got to start saying mass for more than 15 people at a time, particularly with the shortage of clergy. So our task now is to see what faith families might look like, says the Archbishop. What gifts our communities can bring to each other's lives before questions of the numbers of parishes or communities within each mission might be properly asked. And then he says, the pathway ahead will be a time of prayerful discernment and openness to building towards a deeper encounter with Christ in our local circumstances. For example, there are 209 parishes in the Archdiocese. The largest of those is Craigieburn Parish, which has 23,815 Catholics living in it. It has 2 or 3 schools, I think. They have mass at Craigieburn Church, but also mass at the schools as well to meet the needs of those people. But there are 104 parishes in Melbourne that have less than 4,000 Catholics. Now, when I say 23,000 and 4,000, I'm talking about Catholics by census, not Catholics by mass attendance. Catholics by census, people who still identify when the government asks them, are you part of the Catholic tribe or not? They don't contribute, many of them. They don't participate necessarily. They take the view that the Catholic Church is a bit like the Fire Service Victoria, MFB, where it's nice to know that there's a fire station down the road, but we never go there. But we do hope that if a house is burning, they'll come to us. The different approach is to take the CFA approach. And the CFA approach is we are the fire service in this area. Everybody trains and practices and gets called out if there's a fire in the area. Everybody's active and participating. Everybody's trained in emergency response. That's the sort of missions that we're looking to aim for. There are 64 parishes in Melbourne that have less than 300 people at mass of a weekend. They might have 3 masses or 2 masses, or some of them even 4 masses if they've got a priest living there who's happy enough to say 4 masses, but only 300 people attending. The 30 largest parishes are all further than 15 kilometres from the CBD. So the average parish statistics the average parish mission population, or average parish population, is 22,580 persons, citizens. Of those, about 20% are Catholic, 23% are Catholic in the average parish. The average mass attendance is 571. The average contributors in a parish are 233 people on planned giving or Thanksgiving or envelopes or whatever. The average income for a parish in the diocese is $214,000 a year. Now, when you take out the smaller parishes, or take out the larger parishes like Craigieburn, for example, which has about 78,000 people, 23,000 Catholics, has a mass attendance of 2,500. Suddenly you realise that the 100 smallest parishes have less than 150 contributors. So the target for these mission areas to make an economy of scale is around about 72,000 people, about 17,000 Catholic, with a mass attendance of about 1,800 across the mission. Now, the mission might be 4 parishes, it might be 8 parishes, depending on where they are and how close they are to one another and that sort of thing. We're aiming for about 725 contributors to each mission, with an income of around 700,000 a year. Once you've got an income in a mission of about 700,000 a year, you can then start to afford to employ youth workers, school chaplains, parish nurses, pastoral associates, etc. You can't do that in a parish where there are 30 contributors, 15 or 25 people coming to each mass, and you just can't afford to employ anyone. You can't even afford to pay the maintenance on the buildings and the insurance when you've got that little contribution. So there are going to be meetings, gatherings in the 4 regions from July onwards, gatherings where they'll start to look at what the possibilities for missions might look like in those areas. I said we're not talking about closures or mergings. We're talking about parishes becoming part of a bigger entity called a mission, establishing missions as groupings of parishes. So I'll give you an example of what I might mean. This is the eastern suburbs around Box Hill. Okay, Box Hill is right here. This is Box Hill Parish. Box Hill and Box Hill North are one parish and have been since 2012. You've got Surrey Hills Parish here, and you've got Wattle Park Parish here. You've got Burwood, Bennettswood, Blackburn South, Blackburn, North Blackburn, Forest Hill, Vermont, which is part of Mitcham Parish. This is Mitcham Parish all through here. This is Glen Waverley North Parish here, Glen Waverley Parish here, Sindal down here, Mount Waverley. So the question is, what's a good grouping for parishes to get a figure of about 70,000 people and about 20,000, 17,000 Catholics or so? Well, we could look at, for example, we already have Camberwell, which has Deepdene, Balwyn and North Balwyn as part of, and Wattle Park and Surrey Hills as part of their group. They have a parish priest, Brendan Reid. They have an assistant priest, Track Nguyen. They have 2 retired priests and a retired archbishop who help out with masses in that area. And they run those 5 churches from that mission. So there's an example of what a mission might look like. At the moment, they're all under the same parish priest. They're not merged, they're separate parishes, but they have the same parish priest for all of them. But I might do a deal, for example, with Camberwell, and I might say, okay, Box Hill is a medical precinct and an education precinct and a retail precinct. This mission should be focused on outreach to hospitals and aged care, to universities and tertiary education, to international students. So how about we team up with Wattle Park, where Deakin University is, Bennett's Wood, where the Brickworks Shopping Centre is, Blackburn South, and we make this a university, medical, hospital, parish mission, reaching out to aged care. So we'll need a parish nurse or two to visit our aged people in their homes. We'll need a university chaplain to coordinate something for international students, both at Deakin and also at Box Hill Institute. And we might need someone to work with the youth in the area, so we could have perhaps Burwood as part of that, with the Missionaries of God's Love at St. Benedict's. So in other words, create a mission concept with that grouping of parishes. But then Blackburn South may say, well, actually, we'd like to rejoin Blackburn, Blackburn North and Forest Hill. So that might be more suitable for them, because they've got a shopping centre and Forest Hill Chase has got a shopping centre, and they've got a retail presence, and they've got lots of aged care, particularly around Blackburn and Blackburn South, that needs a special type of ministry to aged care. So the Archbishop is saying, get together with your neighbouring parishes, talk about what are the needs of the area. And we're talking about not passengers. We're not talking about providing masses at a time convenient for people. We're talking about providing a service to those who are in need of Catholic ministry. One of our big problems at the moment is that while we tend to be able to service Sunday masses and the small group of people who come to Sunday mass, we're not doing much for those other Catholics in the community who aren't being reached. To me, the Eucharist on Sunday is the source and summit of our expression and worship. The problem is our parishes are great with the summit, but there's no mountain underneath. There's no one where people in the valleys of their lives can actually climb the paths to come up to that mountain. There's no reaching down to help them up with ladders and stairs and steps and whatever. So in other words, the parish is flying up there in the clouds for the small group of people who come to Mass, but there's no ministry and outreach and evangelizing to the mountain on which that summit sits. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say at this stage. I'll stop sharing my screen and we can go into questions.
Thank you, Father Tony. Thanks for the update. All right, Jordan's got his hand up first, it seems.
Yeah.
If you can just unmute yourself, Jordan.
Yep. Well, thanks so much, Father Tony. That was a fascinating talk. Did you come up with the analogy for there's no base under the summit yourself?
I did, yes.
Because that's a great one. Well, I guess it's a challenging reality that you've put before us, and I wonder, is there much awareness on the part of parish priests and parish staff in terms of who these people living in their parish are? Because with COVID lockdowns last year, a lot of parishes just had no clue how to contact the mass goers, many of the mass goers, or those who are not the mass goers. And so I wonder, how do they have a good knowledge of the people? Is there a database? And what plans might be in place to know who those people are better and communicate better with them in these future missions, for example.
Okay. Yeah. The parishes that are going to survive are very much aware of how to reach people. In lockdown, these are the parishes that went online. They started Zooming mass or streaming mass webcasting. I send a personal letter to our email database every Thursday with an update. It's not the parish bulletin. You want to read notices, you read the parish bulletin. You want to read what's happening in the parish, you read my letter that comes out each Thursday. And that tells everybody what's happening in the school. It tells them about the new development next term of old people's mass for 5-year-olds that we're doing, where we've got the people coming to midday mass being joined by the prep class. And then after mass, the preps take them over to their classroom and show them their work, and they do some skills, a bit like old people's home for 4-year-olds, but this is seniors and juniors at mass together, because some of our kids in the school don't have grandparents, or their grandparents are not accessible or not with them, type of thing. So they'd find out about that through my letter. They find out about which parishioners have died and whose funeral is available to watch on the website or on the funeral directors' sites, that type of thing.
Well,
so parishes that are doing that have kept touch and contact. Parishes who just shut up shop and just didn't do anything, they just said, oh, you can't have mass. Well, no, you can't have people at mass, but you can have mass. And so the parishes that kept doing that and reached out have got quite a clientele. The parishes that shut down and didn't do anything are finding a real struggle getting people to come back.
Well, that's really impressive, what you're working on, and other good parishes are doing. I mean, I know I have a few friends who have basically locked themselves in since this virus has got out, and they're also in good parishes where there's online mass, lots of newsletters and other updates, and they haven't heard from anyone in the parish asking how they're going, and I think it was a problem that pre-existed COVID, but I think there'd be great value in actually having a database that's very responsive and precise, because I think a lot of parishes out there wouldn't know if a parishioner had died, let's say got stuck under a tractor or something, and or went out for a bushwalk and might not be heard from for a few months. So it's and something that strikes me as a young parishioner is that I've never been asked to do anything by a parish, reading at mass, serving at mass, okay, been asked to do that. But no one's ever called me up and said, Jordan, we're having a marathon of prayer or something, adoration, or having a rosary campaign. Can you join us? And so I think this is about going from mission is about to mission is getting people to be producers, not consumers. And a good place to start is actually being able to pick up the phone and being able to contact any parishioner. And apart from the donation envelope database, I'm worried most parishes wouldn't really have much of a database of who their people are.
Yeah. Well, the parishes that have that have used it. We had phone trees. We had a team of people who were ringing shut-ins during the first lockdown, ringing them every week. And when the lockdown closed up, or when we opened up again, many of these people actually met the people they were talking to every week for the first time, because they knew them by sight, but they didn't know them by name. but they were given the list of people to ring, and everybody had 10 people to ring each week in our phone tree group. And they were then assisted by a parish nurse to interact and connect. Those sort of things are happening. We've got that opportunity to do that, but you're right. It's about being active and involved, and it's about thinking about new ways of connecting.
Any other questions to Father Tony?
Father Tony.
Yes, John.
I moved from Faulkner Parish to Essendon Parish about 2 years ago now. With the lockdown, I wasn't able to attend St Monica's Church until virtually Easter of this year. So in that case, I actually not known to my PP and what I can do or can't do for him at the moment. Should I approach him to assist him in helping with this mission?
I think so. I think whenever people move, it's always helpful if they contact the parish office and say, look, I've moved into the parish, and get added to that database, and told about the opportunities that are around, because most parishes have anything from groups and gatherings and activities to get involved with. Be interesting to see what happens in the Moonee Ponds area. They're talking about Essendon, West Essendon, Ascot Vale, and Moonee Ponds joining together as a mission. So that'll be interesting. How that progresses, how that grows. It's then you've got pockets like Avondale Heights. Where do they sit? Do they join Keilor Downs, East Keilor, or do they cross the river and go Maidstone and that direction? You know, so it's the real question is about where do people sit? What's the natural grouping? Which parishioners or parishes feel good about working together with one another, with sort of a common theme. And a lot of these things are settled because they're sharers in the local Catholic Regional Secondary School, for example. They've already got a partnership through that. But others will be open for discussion. What's clear is that anyone who's slow to engage in this might find that their parishes accidentally gets closed off or shut down, or they get a priest to come once a fortnight to say mass in their church or something, but nothing much else happened.
We've got 3 questions, so another 3. So I'll do from how I see it. We've got 4, so it'll be the last 4. So Jerry Van Hees first. Just unmute yourself.
Go, Jerry.
Yes, Father Tony. In today's world, like myself, for example, I go across 2 other parishes to get to my church that I feel comfortable I can attend. So that, in other words, but I'm not alone. There's a lot of people do go to parishes other than their local parish to attend mass.
Yep.
And is that sort of a consideration at all in the figures that have been done?
You know.
Very much so. What they're talking about there, Jerry, is that people go, that they're not so much residentially bound as bound by custom, the parish where they feel comfortable with. It becomes interesting because it means then if your parish is part of a mission, then you might go to any of the churches within that mission that you feel comfortable with. And the different churches will have different communities with different styles of celebration. St. Philip's North Blackburn is a very traditional parish. Their father Nicholas Dillon celebrates mass there ad orientem, and that's not to everybody's flavour or taste. Some people find that disconcerting, and others find it very reverent. Some people go there because of the quality of the music. But people come from all over the eastern suburbs to go to that church because it is very much 1960s celebration of the liturgy. And that's what they feel comfortable with.
All right. Brother John Bruce.
Thanks, Carmen. Father Tony, as we're talking about this, I can start with my own parish, and I know quite well that my parish priest is not keen on missions. The immediate adjoining parish, St. Greg's, is losing its parish priest to become bishop for the southern area. I can see natural synergies with a number of other parishes, St. Peter's and Paul's and St. Kevin's, and St. Kevin's has recently lost its parish priest. But it's a matter of, in the absence of this support from my own parish priest, how do I start this discussion with neighbouring parishioners? And breaking into the politics of an adjoining parish, I've always found extremely difficult.
Yeah. You've got one advantage. The gatherings for the lay leaders and the gatherings for the clergy to explain this process all took place at the Veneto Club.
Yes.
So you're pretty local in that regard. The idea is that it's not just at the clergy level that these discussions are being held, but rather at the lay leadership level as well, and that parish councils are also engaged in this process. So the Archbishop and the Evangelisation Office of the Archdiocese are very keen to have parish councils taking the running here, doing the legwork, checking the data, toting up the statistics and the needs. A lot of these things are publicly available. You can find, for example, from your local municipal website, the aged care homes within the parish, and the hospitals and all of those sort of situations. So you can find all this stuff out, and then as you start to work with that with a group of people from the mission area, you will start to see something coalescing.
Thank you, Father Tony. Brother Dominic Amato, just take your yep. You're right to talk, Dom. Dom? I'll go to you there, Andrew, while he's figuring out what he's doing there.
Thank you, Brother Chairman.
That's all right.
Father Kerin, what's your biggest concern about this with regard this change, restructure with regards to the clergy? Because I know I've spoken to various priests, and obviously not everyone's on board with this. I think most priests are concerned about where they sit going forward, the quality of service, what will be required of them, because for example, there are still a lot of parishes with one mass centre, or a fair number. And do you think their concern would be about having to tend to different mass centres, or are they concerned about a drop in the quality of services, or just the general nature of change? Because a lot of us are creatures of habit. We don't like change when it's forced upon us. Do you feel there'll be any that get dispirited or going to get lost in the wash?
The biggest problem they're going to have with the clergy is that the Archbishop has a desire that clergy live in communities rather than living on their own separately, and so that they can support one another in the mission. And the biggest problem for that is that we have a fair number of clergy who are basically confirmed bachelors. They're not very good at living with anybody. And in fact, they're not good at working with anybody, but they're the parish priest, so what they say goes. That's going to be the biggest problem. The priests who are at the moment are in their parish suddenly find that they're in the hen house with everybody else in the mission. And one of the benefits for the Archbishop is that only competent priests will be appointed as leaders of mission. But that does mean that those who are parish priests of smaller parishes might still be parish priests of that small parish, but they're not going to have the freedom that they had at the moment to have their will enforced if they're working in a mission with another parish. In other words, they can't decide what time they'll say Mass to suit themselves, because it's got to fit in with the other parishes that are also part of the mission as well. And they might have the need to go to another parish to say a Mass now and again, or to go to a school or an aged care place in another parish as part of that mission. So that's the biggest problem. The threat is going to be for priests who are quite comfortable in their minimal maintenance role at the moment, and they're not ready for mission. They may need a change of heart, and that's what might something we could pray for.
All right, Father Tony, let me just finish the last two. We'll try and keep them quick. Brother Joe?
Father, is this still under wraps? Is it confidential, or can the parishioners be discussing it between themselves and with the parish priest?
It's all open. It's all open now.
The parish priests were told about it on the 22nd of May. And in June,
it was the other way around.
Other way around. May 22nd, I think the lay people were told about it.
Okay.
And they were told to go back and report to their parishes.
Okay. All right.
And it had been the worst kept secret prior to that anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the problem is that if a priest is not keen on it, he hasn't said anything about it to anybody.
That'd be right.
If he hasn't sent anyone to the lay leaders meeting, although there were 170 people, lay leaders at that meeting, there are 209 parishes, so not every parish was represented. There are people who are probably hoping that this will go away, and what they might find is that actually their parish goes away and the diocese moves on without them.
Okay. Father Tony, we'll try Dominic as the last person.
Okay.
Are you back, Dom? No.
Carmine, I was wanting to ask a question.
Sorry, Peter. Okay, last one then.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tony, I'm very interested. Do the parish priests, do they have access to the Catholics in their parish? You know, as you were saying before, that when we use the census, then you talk about people that are Catholics on the census, but not necessarily known to the parish. I was wondering whether or not parish priests would have access to that information. The reason why I ask this question is I've been in the Caroline Springs parish now for 21 years. Never once have I been approached by anyone from the parish to get involved. To get involved in the parish activities or anything at all. And this suggests to me that there could be a number of people in a parish that are Catholic, but are not being involved because they've never been approached. So the mission idea can possibly bring people back to the church and back to the practice of the faith.
That's the hope, Peter. And I'll say something. Firstly, that the parish priest knows how many Catholics live in his parish from the census, but he doesn't know who they are. He knows the number. He doesn't know the names. He doesn't know they have the addresses. In places like Caroline Springs and Altona Meadows, Werribee, I mean, the mission is going to be pretty much contiguous with the current parish. They are large parishes. They are huge parishes. So there won't be a merging of parishes there. The parish will be the mission because they've already got that substantial size in those areas. Places like Hampton Park, for example, you know, these are huge, massive places where you've probably already got 20,000 or 18,000 Catholics there already without having to join up with another parish. This is a process that's going to be more affecting the inner city parishes. You know, your balaclavas and St. Coleman's balaclava, you know, 22 people going to the English Mass and 70 going to the Hungarian Mass. And that's it. That's the parish.
Father, you could probably go on for another hour. Can I just finish off with how can the KSC get involved at this early stage? How can we get involved?
One of the advantages the KSC has is that in many of these places, the branch already spans the local parishes.
Yep.
There's more than one parish participating in the branch. So the fact that you already know each other and you can work with each other's parish councils and be introduced and involved and active is a great opportunity. The other thing you can do is you can say, we've heard what the Archbishop wants you to do, Father. How would you like us to help you?
Yeah. Thank you, Father. As I said, when Father Tony sat down with us at State Council, his session went for over an hour. So this alone could be a whole day's worth of talking. So, but look, thank you for taking your time to spend the afternoon with us, Father. It's much appreciated. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Brother John Hennessy, our State Order Development Officer and the Chairman of the Order Development Committee, if he can now take the floor and give us an update on and discussion on training.
Thank you, Brother Carmine. Getting as much out of.
We're struggling to hear you there, John.
Yeah, I didn't realise I was having competition.
Hang on, I'm trying to identify it.
Very interesting stuff coming out of today. And I hope everyone's taking notes and noting the key points. Brother Paul has given a concise reference and restructure for action from the members' survey. Father Tony has just issued a clear challenge for the KSC and an even heavier challenge for Brother Andrew as chairman of the Church and Clergy Committee. As chairman of the newly formed training committee, I'm very keen to get on with this important part of the training sits high on the list of priorities. So this first scheduled session to be conducted in Bacchus Marsh in September, with others to follow early next year. But don't wait until then to begin working with the manual. You all have a copy now, so let's get on with it. Let me speak for a moment about sequence. And this is a fairly important but never mentioned part of the way we go about things. We seem to get sequence out of whack and things happening, one thing happens before another, and it shouldn't be that way. So it's very important to get a clear idea of the sequence in which events should take place. So sequence is a very important part of this entire program, as we see every day the frustrations of putting energy into efforts that are out of sequence. This comes to the fore when we talk about cause and effect. And my philosophy is always to approach cause before effect. Enormous amounts of time and effort are put into never-ending actions to alleviate effects. For example, abortion, same-sex marriage, and now closer to home, membership. These are all effects or symptoms, and will certainly be with us forever if we don't identify and define the fundamental cause that is the real problem. Yeah, this is a longer-term approach that will require fundamental change. I'm not here to discuss these issues, but simply to give examples of the frustration derived from addressing effects. So let's have a look at some of the symptoms. Falling membership numbers due to ageing, church numbers falling, the rise of secularism and the busy lifestyles of the young, things about which we can do very little. Reporting, discourses and newsletters, or lack of reporting, no recommendation for action. Lack of recruiting. We're not all personality-wise able to go out and freely approach men. But what if we had a specific need for a particular role? Caretakers versus leaders. Stress among executive members of the Knights. What do the Knights do? Let's have a look at the toolbox. Andrew, are you following what I'm doing? Okay. We look at the recently produced Water Development Manual, and what comes to mind is it's like a toolbox. Let's see what's in the toolbox. All right, we're having a bit of a problem now that we've opened it. Let's see what's in it. How do we create a vision? Where is it? And the chairmanship tool. I haven't been a chairman before, so I need to know what the ins and outs of being a chairman is required. It's in the toolbox. The recruitment and retention tool. It's in the toolbox. So the Order Development Manual is a box full of tools to use in renewing the order. Let's talk about vision. Okay. I think we're not on the right page there.
Is this still in the toolbox or did you want the manual?
I'm in the manual. Page 3 of the manual. I had all this attached to the notes I sent you.
Yeah,
so
there
you
it
just
is.
have to go down the notes.
There it is, John.
I don't have the notes. Okay.
I need to talk to them. Is that it?
No. Can you go to the
That's
email I sent you, and you had the notes there before you, the notes that I'm reading. Sorry about this, brothers. Okay. That's the page I wanted. Vision. The Order of the Knights of the Southern Cross to be a well-run organisation of Catholic men playing a relevant and effective role in the future of the Church.
Is it? That's the Order Development Manual, John. That's page 3.
You there, John?
John?
Dropped out.
I might, whilst John's dropped out, I might just quickly promote the.
John's on mute. He's on mute.
I can't see him.
He's frozen. Andrew, you might suggest to him he turn off his video and just keep his mic on, and that'll reduce the bandwidth.
Hang on. Just give me a sec. John has dropped out.
Well, what I'll do, I'll just quickly go into my segment. When he hooks on, we'll get him to restart where he was. Don't know what's happened there.
I think he has dropped out. Yep.
That's right. As I said, I'll just quickly promote the KSC Pre-Sport Education Fund Archbishop's Dinner. This year will be our 23rd dinner. It's all planned to take place on the Friday, the 20th of August at Moonee Valley Racecourse, where it's been for the last 6 years. We had the launch on Pentecost Sunday in Carlton, where we had 90 attendees. We had probably about 40 seminarians, and the rest were sponsors and potential sponsors on the day. So that all went well. One thing that came out of it is that a lot of the young seminarians, the year 1, 2s and 3s, they were very keen to be able to attend on the night. And I'd said to them, look, the only way you're going to be able to get there is if you make sure you bring a table. So get your families involved. And then I'll ask Father Stanley to see if it's okay. And I spoke to Father Stanley, and he gave them the okay to attend as long as they get their families involved. So that's an additional area which we probably haven't plugged in the early years of the seminarians. This year's guest speaker will be none other than our very own Archbishop, Archbishop Peter Comensoli. He was planned to do it last year, but because of COVID, he was happy to agree to do it this year. Our Master of Ceremonies will be recently retired race caller, Brian Martin, and our auctioneer tonight will be one of our very own KSC members, Brian Kane. So, the cost of this year's dinner will be $150 per head. We're hoping to get 400 attendees to the venue, and assuming that all COVID restrictions will be okay, that should the room can definitely hold that many people. Can hold up to 800 people, so the room won't be an issue. It'll only be if there might be COVID issues that could force us with restrictions. But at this point in time, it looks like that we will be able to have 400 in attendance unless things change, of course. We're collecting
Everyone's got an invitation, a booking form with the
Crusader. They should have come with the Crusader.
Now, if anyone needs a digital electronic version, please let me know.
Yeah. So, look, last year we were well supported by our KC branches, even though we didn't hold the dinner. Where
Carmen? Tell me, Carmen's dropped out there.
He's frozen as well.
She's frozen.
The Satan's attacking us by the looks of it. Okay, if that's the case, then brother John, can you hear us now?
I'm back.
Okay, good. We'll go back to where your presentation. Now, were you on the? It was on the manual, wasn't it?
Can you get out of the manual?
Yep.
And go back to the email I sent you. You had my notes that I was reading off.
Yep, that's the one.
Now go to the bottom of that.
That one there?
Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right, now you're getting onto the pages.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Page. Now, if these pages are in order, And that's what I was getting at before.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry everyone that I got pretty distracted then, in touch of diarrhea. So we've done with the toolbox. We're talking about sequence now. So let's go on to the functions of management, which is the next page.
Yep.
Keep going. Next page, that's it. No, functions of management.
Down.
Previous page.
That was up, yeah.
Okay, hold it there. Okay, now when we talk about sequence and everything happens in a sequence, we have a lot of people who start off with controlling, and this is a normal textbook functions of management in this sequence. We get people talking about membership, which is staffing, and we haven't even started talking about planning and organising. So we've got nothing organised or planned, and we don't know really why we need staff other than to make up the numbers. In other words, our membership's falling, so we must go out and try and get more members. That's dealing with an effect. And once again, we need to identify the cause. And if we take 2 steps up the ladder, we see that planning has not taken place. We don't have a branch plan, and we don't have in times gone by, we haven't had a state plan, and we've got really nothing to follow. So there's nothing there that's going to take us anywhere, that's going to give us no direction or leadership. So we need to be at all levels having a plan. And we've now started to do that. And you've seen at state council level, we're starting to plan and restructure so that things start happening. And we have a reason then to go out and get members to help with these issues. And we've got now 6 committees newly formed to get action going on what the members have asked us to do. So can we move on from there to strategic plan we'll give? Okay, so we're talking about strategic planning, which is foreign to probably 80% of the membership. And this is where we really need to get you guys to allow us to do some guidance, give some guidance. I won't say teaching because we prefer not to use that word, instruction. But what I ask is that you allow us to guide you through the order development manual so that we can start coming with plans and vision statements. And this goes down from the branch through into the portfolios that we've identified from the lists that we've structured and prioritised into portfolios. And we now need to, we know what skills are required to perform the functions of this portfolio. And we now know what sort of person we need to manage that and to run it. And he may or may not be a member of the order at the moment. So he will be recruited from the parish or from within the order if we're lucky enough to have him in the branch. And then he will manage that and set up a plan for that portfolio and thereby seek assistance. It's more than what he can do by himself maybe. So he'll then have to go and recruit further members of the right skills and capability to help him with that. And this eventually will give greater relevance and service to our church and ultimately deliver our vision. And beyond that, it'll start giving us a decent fraternity and pride in membership, which I observe is falling as well. So these are all part of getting to the cause rather than working on the effect. So then we go further down to the next one, reporting. And this is the ultimate measure, I guess, of where we finish. The major symptom of the dire problem that the order has is a poor quality of reporting right throughout. And this is something that I came on State Council with 10 years ago, and it still happens today that we go into branches and there are no branch reports, or they're very poor reports on a few things we might have done. But what we need in proper healthy reporting to get this organisation moving is for the reports to be against plans. And if there's no reports, there's no plan. If there's no plan, there's nothing happening. And if there's nothing happening, there's certainly no need for membership. So that's basically the bottom line of the whole message. So that'll be the improvement in reporting will be a measure of the forward-focused recruitment drives, and more significantly by a dramatic upgrading of this reporting procedure. Recruitment drives that focus on increasing our membership numbers will continue down the path of frustration. Recruitment drives will now focus clearly on our future plans and why we need you, brother recruit, to be an important part of the Order's future. Retention of these new recruits will follow on from reporting now against plans. They will be busy and see their efforts being acknowledged in branch, district, state and national reporting. Reporting reflects the health of the organisation. Plenty of meat for the media committee. Brothers, are there any questions? Okay, so where to from here? Please study the manual and call out for guidance when you're ready. Otherwise, we'll come to you. We have a shared responsibility to build our Order's future. And as you've told us in the survey, training is a high priority amongst all of you. So we'll be putting out we're putting together a schedule of training, as I said before, starting in Bacchus Marsh in September. And this will involve the Central 11 District, plus maybe Essendon and Keilor or one of those branches out that way, which is closer. So brothers, thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
Tom DeBelli's got a question now, I think, or not? No? Oh, any questions?
Thank you, brothers.
Apologies, Brother John, for getting the material mixed up.
I apologise also for having my machine go off the air.
Oh, that's all right.
Or said, thank you, John. As I said, they sometimes can't be controlled. Andrew, with my presentation, did that go through at all, or did the
pre-support and education?
Yeah.
We did, as I said.
Maybe just put the flyer up, and I'll just quickly. I must. Okay, yeah. So at the end of the day, now we need branches to support the event. Our big push is to get 400 plus in attendance once again. Last year, the branches really supported us. Even though branches did it very hard last year, we were just what we were able to do last year and pass on a cheque to the Archbishop for $60,000 was incredible, and we're hoping to be able to do the same thing again this year. Okay,
Brother Chairman, what we should probably add is that we're well aware of the restrictions that we've been under over the past 3 weeks or so. That's definitely in our minds, but we're proceeding as if the dinner's going ahead full steam. We're hopeful. We ask all of our members to pray that the conditions will be right on the night so that we won't have any restrictions. So please pray your rosaries daily for that, or add that to your daily rosary prayers. But we plan as ahead, but we're all well aware that anything could change at any moment. If we are forced to cancel the dinner, everyone will be offered a full refund, so there's no problem there. But now's the time to promote this. We'll begin promoting it within the diocese, the 4 dioceses at diocesan level, but we would encourage members to promote them at branch and definitely a parish level as well. And there's the flyer, if anyone needs the flyer, they've received it with the June Crusader, but there are plenty of spare hard copies. If they need one, just contact either Brother Carmine or myself, or they can request a digital copy. Or if you need any of the promotional material whether it be digital or hard copy, please contact me and I'll be more than happy to supply them.
Thank you. If we can now ask John Bruce, the chair of the Knights Consulta Division, just to give us...
But just before that, Brother Chairman, did you want to briefly address We Share, You Share?
Yes.
No. So I just spoken. I'll take a gap. I'll do it after. Yeah. If I can just ask the chair of the Knights Consulta Division just to give us an update of plans for the Centenary celebrations, Brother John Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Brother Carmine, and all present. We have a date for our Centenary celebration, which is the 20th of February 2022. We have 8 months until then. The KSCV Division started planning for this event roughly 2 years ago. And of course, we all know what 2021 did to us, and it left a bit of a hole, but it also left an opportunity. We have a venue, St. Clement of Rome Church, Bulleen, and the function following, which will be a social function, is in the Clifton Centre next door to the church. We have a caterer, and we're catering for 200 plus or minus. The caterers are flexible. We have an acceptance from Archbishop Peter Comensoli, and Archbishop Peter will be the principal celebrant of a concelebrated Mass. We'll be asking bishops and retired archbishops and clergy, and we'll also be sending out invitations to order members, some VIPs, and there's a few other people that we're thinking about as well. We'll start the afternoon with the concelebrated Mass at 2 o'clock. And after that, we'll move into the Clifton Centre. In the Clifton Centre, we'll have afternoon tea, and it's also the opportunity to put the order on display. The order as we are and the order as we have been. And anybody who's heard me over the last year or so, you'll know that I've been asking about order memorabilia. And Andrew is going to put up some order memorabilia right now. And that's the kind of memorabilia that we're looking for. Whether it goes by branch, whether it's just generic on a table, something there to generate discussion. We can also digitize any of this and have that rolling, or perhaps we may find pages from attendance books and what am I looking for? The minutes of meetings and things like that. Some juicy little bits and tidbits here and there that will generate discussion. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking for with the memorabilia. And whether you think of it as bric-a-brac or really good stuff like Andrew has there, that's what we need. If you can lay your hands on some and send me a digital photo of it, that will help us, the KSCV Division Executive, in preparing for the function. And that's about it, Carmen.
Thank you, Father John. Any questions to Father John?
Yes, David Pignolay, Brother Chair. John, you want to let the audience know that there'll be, at this particular point in time, there'll be no charge for attendance. However, we do need to know numbers.
Yes. Thank you for making that statement, Brother Secretary. So yes, we will be sending out invitations, so we will want numbers, and we'll be doing that sooner rather than later.
I think Brother Ken Rolls had some memorabilia he was flashing.
Order tie clip, is that?
Looks like a tie pin.
Is that a tie clip, brother Ken?
I don't often wear a tie these days, but I do have a lapel badge also, so I wear that a bit more often.
Walk yesterday, probably, yeah.
Our aim is for branches to collect, and as soon as we get closer to the event, they need to be dropped off so they can be presented on the day. So, but in the short term, just take photos of what you've got, so the Knights Consultants Division can actually start putting things together. Okay.
Yeah. So, Carmine, I've just got a little booklet there of the Southern Cross Club, Victoria. It dates back 60 years. Yeah. And then there was a subsequent one, a blue covered one. Yeah. And that's around about 8 years later than the orange one. And they're the kind of things that were the small memorabilia that used to make us what we were years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing we would also encourage branches is to submit their histories, their branch histories, because that would be if you can compile, if you've already got a branch history compiled, whether it be in a Word document or whatever, we would also like to encourage that because that can be shown on the day. Any photos that you might have of branch events, submit them as well. Anything you'll find in the coming months in the Crusader, there'll be more and more articles about the order's history leading into next year. So the most big Brother Paul Sabat has an item there as well. One of my things, I'm an amateur historian. I love my history. I love studying and learning from it. And the most important thing that I get from history is if you don't know who you are, if you don't learn who you are and where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. So it's important that we know who we are, what our history is before we can move forward.
And this event is open for our wives as well, of course.
It's open to it should be open. Would it be open to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Good.
May I say what I'm exhibiting here?
What's that?
May I say what I'm exhibiting here?
Please do. Please do.
This is the placemats that we have on the tables when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the formation of the branch in 2014. And the back of it has got the first executive committee that was, when the branch was established, plus all the chairmen we had until 2014. So I suppose that's a bit of a memorabilia. I think John's already seen this before.
It's a great
I have, Paul. And because Paul is also St. Clement of Rome and with me, Doncaster Templestowe, that's going to get first place in the digital display.
Okay. I have other things as well, but that's I've got several copies of that if you need them.
Yeah, so branches, do a bit of homework, start going back into your files and archives and see what you can come up with. Thank you, Brother John.
Oh, it's good.
Michael, were you going to say something? Yep.
I was just going to ask Brother John, do you have a rough RSVP date for the Centenary?
Yes, tomorrow, Michael.
No, just for a while, in terms of communicating to our members, our RSVP date is just for planning.
We'll get something into the next Crusader and aim for August, say. It'd be nice to have about a 6-month lead time into the event.
Okay, that's right. So that'll need to be within the next couple of weeks then, that's all.
Yes.
So as I say, we're looking for photos. The one that you see on screen happens to be from the very first Priest Support and Education Fund dinner from 1999. So that's an example of photos we're looking for.
That's Cardinal Pell.
Yes.
And that's Bob Johnson.
The late Robert Johnson, yes.
At the lectern, yes.
I think Eddie Maguire.
Yep.
Boo.
They're the sorts of things. So if you've got any photos, anything.
Okay, thank you. we're nearing the end of the day, so I think I'll just quickly, We Share, You Share, a project that we've had in place now from the days of Kevin McLaughlin on State Council. And it's helped the Knights year in, year out. The last couple of years have been pretty tough. Branches have done it tough because of COVID. We've done it tough in head office as well. But we understand that branches are only just starting to meet. And now the recent lockdown probably haven't met now for at least definitely for the month of May. But with the end of the financial year fast approaching, we are after some funds between now and 30th of June to assist us with our financial position, but also to try and maintain the current levels of membership and subscriptions. We've already agreed that we're definitely not going to agree, we're not going to increase fees for the 2021-22 years, but the monies that come in from the We Share, You Share do help us. We haven't sent any invoices for what's the word?
Branch levies.
Branch levies this year, because we know branches have done it tough. We will be sending out branch levies in the new financial year for the 21-22 year, but we've pretty much wiped the 19, 20 and 2021 year. So the cost of the insurance just keeps on going up. We're all still running sausage sizzles when we're able to. So any assistance over the next 3 weeks will be much appreciated for some of our healthy branches. And I don't need to name them, but if branches can support us between now and 30th of June for that, that'd be great. Because I wouldn't want to come knocking on your door for some assistance. But if you could do that, it'd be very much appreciated. Any questions?
Now.
What's that?
I'm there after that, as soon as you finish. Because you'll order printer from Office Works and they will deliver it.
Okay. Any questions?
Ordered.
Yes, Lord.
Finish this and come.
All right. Yeah, it'll finish in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, now I'll pass it to our District Chairman of District 11, Glenn Morris, just to give us a recap of the day.
Thank you, Carmine. Father Tony, brothers. Today we started with our first guest speaker, Jordan Grantham. Jordan spoke about church and media, specifically what the media can't do, what good media can do, what media has been doing, and what the Knights of the Southern Cross might do. What media can't do is to replace strategy. Brother Jordan spoke about our strengths. In particular, he spoke about Catholic voices. But he also stressed that we have to be consistent with our approach to the media. We're very fortunate to have very strong publications. The Crusader reaches a large number of people who are not online. Brother Michael Palmer does a terrific job. However, Brother Michael needs our input. Our next speaker was Brother Joe O'Brien. Brother Joe advised that the new Act has yet to be approved. We have engaged a solicitor for the new Constitution. It talks about the right of members, grievance and disciplinary actions. The committee has been formed by State Council. The point of contact between the Knights and Consumer Affairs will be Brother Andrew. On the 18th of July, there will be a meeting and notices will be dispatched tomorrow for consideration of a special resolution. One of the outcomes we hope for is to have a quorum of 15 people rather than the current 50. And to achieve this, we need 2 delegates from each branch to attend. Our next speaker was Brother Chris Young. Brother Chris was talking about public speaking. And interestingly, Brother Chris said that the fear of public speaking ranks right up there with the fear of spiders and the fear of heights. Brother Chris said, from a personal viewpoint, public speaking gave him great confidence. He said the benefits are great, it's changed his life, and he's looking out to help others. Brother Chris has placed an article in the Crusader seeking support, but to date, there'd been no response. He advised to get behind this project, and he is actually looking for 8 people to be involved. Our next speaker was Brother Paul Mitchell. Brother Paul spoke about the restructure of State Council and considered the member survey, the members' experiences and issues, followed by a state workshop. That was followed by a report to State Council and then the actions of State Council. The voting results at that point were Christianity and faith, training and communication, social justice, and church and clergy. From those results, a planning committee was formed to report to State Council, and the outcomes of that were Brother Dominic was to convene the faith and fraternity, Brother John Hennessy, training, Brother Andrew, church and clergy, Brother Michael, communication, Brother John Bruce, social justice, and Brother Paul Mitchell was governance. The workshop report was accepted by State Council in April, with the 6 committees initiated. The conveners of each of these committees were to write their terms of reference. The proposals were changed to be collated by September, and the outcomes discussed at the annual state conference. The next speaker was Brother Bill about social justice. And Brother Bill spoke about the justice associated with wealth and privileges. There's a significant amount of work that Brother Bill related to, conducted by his own personal branch. And Brother Bill said, seeking asylum in Australia is a basic right. Brother Bill advised there's several Catholic organisations have indicated support for asylum seekers. The Knights of Southern Cross Queensland have supported refugees, and that Victoria should follow. Please read the Crusader article for further information and how to write your letters. After the break, Father Tony Kerin advised about the changes to the parishes, or in fact, there was no change to the parish. It was to reimagine our local churches as mission communities and to restructure the archdiocese due to the low numbers of clergy. There was a difference between the inner suburban parishes, as we have it, with multiple churches close together. So our Archbishop was to identify and rearrange the archdiocese into mission locations comprising a family of communities. Father Tony stressed we're not merging or closing parishes. We are currently a consumer mentality group where we expect to have masses at given times. This may not exist in the future. Currently in the Archdiocese of Melbourne, we have 209 parishes. Out of those, 104 parishes have less than 4,000 Catholics from the census. And 64 parishes have less than 300 at Mass. What are we looking for? The average parish populations to be around 22,000 people. The average parish Catholics to be 5,312. We're looking for average Mass attendance of 571, with contributors at 233, and an income of about 214,000 annually. However, the mission targets are looking at a population of 72,000, which include 17,000 Catholics. The Mass attendance each week to be around 1,800. Contributors to be about 725, and looking for an annual income of about 700,000. It's an opportunity to start talking to parishioners in adjacent parishes. Otherwise, your future might be decided beyond your own control. Father Tony advised that in many cases the Knights are in a strong advantage because our areas of capture go across current parish boundaries. Father Carmine then spoke about the Archbishop's dinner and announced that a number of young seminarians are keen to attend, the guest speaker being Archbishop Peter Camisoli. The cost per head will be $150, and the hope is to have 400 attendees. A full refund if the function can't go ahead. Brother John Hennessy then spoke about training. Now, training is going to be rolled out starting in September, with the first location likely to be Bacchus Marsh. Brother John emphasised that sequence is very important, and we tend to get this out of order. We've got to approach the cause before the effect, and note that membership is an effect. We do have a KSC toolbox, and the Order Development Manual is that toolbox. Everything we need is contained there. The pages of the Order Development Manual are in the correct order. It talks about the functions of management, planning, organising, staffing, directing, controlling. It emphasises the need for a proper strategic plan and, very importantly, reporting. John's message is study the manual, call out for assistance. Brother John Bruce then spoke about the Centenary celebrations. The urgency, we've only got 8 months until this event. The location will be St. Clement of Rome, with the function next door in the Clifton Centre. The catering numbers are 200. We've already received an acceptance from the Archbishop, and invites are yet to be sent to order members and VIPs. The day will start with Mass at 2 p.m. Brother John has requested order memorabilia, and also that we will need to know the numbers. This function is open to wives. The final presentation was from Brother Carmine. We share, you share. We're not increasing our order fees this year. There's no branch levies this year. However, insurance costs keep going up. So participation in We Share, You Share is essential. Thank you, brothers.
Well done, Glenn. That's a fantastic wrap of the day. We should have just gone straight to the wrap, but no, well done, mate. Great presentation there, Glenn. Now, I just want to open it to open forum, open general business. So if you can just tick the little reaction so we can see who wants to ask any questions. Brother John Bruce to start off with.
Thanks, Brother Carmine. Yes, I'm unmuted. It's not necessarily order business, but it's community business. For people that have had 2 vaccinations, either AstraZeneca or Pfizer, Monash University is carrying out a long-term study about the immune response to the vaccinations, and they will assist in the future vaccine and therapeutic opportunities that are available. The idea is to measure the how effective the vaccines are immediately after giving them, 6 months later and 18 months later. And there'll be blood donations at each of those times. Professor Stephanie Grass from Monash is managing the study. And if members are interested in participating, they can either send me their details and I'll send them on to Professor Grass, or if they want a little bit more information, they can just ask me.
Thank you, John. Any other? Yep, Brother Andrew.
Maybe I'd like to invite Brother Michael McCormick, if he's available. I believe that he has something to address us with. Brother Michael.
Now I think we're right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. We can hear you.
Okay, that's good. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone that participated today. It was a great day, and a couple of our members to the left now were only coming for 10 minutes, but they stayed all day. So I think that's it's good. It comes over very well, and it was very easy to follow and understand. Yeah, we're having a bit of a function or planned function.
No, it's got 2 minutes to go.
At Myrtleford on the 18th of August for Brother George and Artie. The 8th, is it? 8th of August for Brother George and Artie, who has in excess of 60 years membership of the order.
Yeah.
We'll have more out on that later.
Well, 3 or 4 minutes.
Continue, Brother Michael.
Right, we're finished. We're finished, I think.
Okay.
So what date, Michael? What's
8th of August.
8th of August?
Yep.
It's a
For
Sunday.
George and Artie, 62 or 63 years membership.
Clem, did you want to, have you got your,
I can get to that. I want to see.
Clem, have you got your 90-year celebrations booked in? Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, hi brothers, how are we? Excuse me. No, we haven't set a date yet for our celebrations yet, for our 90th year celebrations, and Kevin's 50 years. We are looking at doing life membership with Kevin. But we'll touch base as soon as we set a date.
Okay. All right. As I said, if you give us plenty of time, we can also promote it in the Crusader, of course.
Yeah, understandable. Thank you for that, brothers.
Brother Chairman?
Brother Michael?
I just remind members, if you want to advertise anything in the August Crusader, could you get it to me by the 30th of June, please? And if you know you want, even if you know you've got an article coming, but it's not ready yet, if you could just let me know, and then I can, allot some space for it. And also, if you've got anything you want to go in July for the Crusader Bulletin, also also please send me the information by 30th of June. The cutoff date's the same.
Thank you, Brother Michael. I'm just flicking through just in case I'm missing anybody. Any other questions?
or anything that anyone wants to raise? Oh, actually, just while I have everyone here, because we're trying to assemble the addresses for the Constitution mail out. I'm also trying to chase up branch secretaries for a future meeting. First of all, while I've got some of these branches here, first of all, Colac branch, Brother Mick and Brother John, do you have a secretary? Brother John, Brother Mick, you can unmute. Brother John, Brother Mick, can you unmute? There. Does Colac branch have a secretary?
Bill Van England,
Bill Van England, thank you.
and he's in Railway.
I'll have his address. Don't worry, I'll have his address.
Changed his address.
Oh, he has. Oh, can you email that address to me right away, please?
We'll get it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Brother John Hart, I know Rosanna McLeod aren't meeting at the moment, but do you have a branch secretary? Hang on, I'll unmute you. Or I'll ask to unmute you.
Patrick Keneally, Andrew.
Pat Keneally, yep. Pat Keneally. Brother John Watson, Coburg, branch secretary.
Is this still on?
Brother John. Can you unmute, please, Brother John? Do you have a branch secretary at Coburg?
Well, his brother Andrew purchased,
Yeah.
but he's indisposed, he's in hospital.
Okay, so should I just send it to the branch chairman?
Chairman.
Yeah, which is it's Ernie Gelonamy.
Ernie Gerlon, yeah.
I found out his email address is usable, but he doesn't look at it all the time.
Okay, that's okay. I'll just need the name for now, and I'll follow everything else up.
Okay.
Brother Kevin Pagan, McKillop.
Yeah, we don't have it at the moment, but you send it to me, Brother Andrew, please.
Yep, Kevin Pagan. And Brother Stuart Robertson, Bacchus Marsh.
Yes, well, I'm unmuted. Our secretary is Brother Ron Gertz.
Ron Gertz, yep.
You would have an address on him. I believe it's Murderdirk Street, but I'll email it to you as quick as possible.
Yeah, if you can, thank you. I think that's it. I think that's all. I think the rest I have.
Just on that note, with the rules for the special state conference, you also need to be a paid up member at that point in time. So we really need to make sure the delegates that are appointed on the day have paid their subscriptions for 2021-22. Okay, so that's a must. So it's
we haven't received those invoices yet, have we, Carmen?
No, they haven't been sent yet, but you'll hopefully during the week sometime they should arrive.
Okay.
We've got till the 18th of. They need to be paid by the 18th of July. So now, also we've got the platform.
Sorry, Brother Chairman, just one other. Brother David Pignolay, I know Knox is a meeting, but do they have a secretary or a...
Send it to me.
Okay, yep.
Thanks, Dave. For our district chairmen, on Thursday, Thursday coming, we have our district chairmen's meeting via Zoom. So just make sure that, especially for our country district chairman, to pencil it in, Clem and Tom. Just make sure that we get you there. John Miller, if you're available to hook in. This Thursday. All right. Probably going away from today, we just need to make sure that every branch is represented at the special state conference on the 18th of July. It will be held via Zoom, so very similar to today, but we need to have the delegates. Andrew needs to know who the delegates will be, so as that that we ensure that they've got all the correct communication for the day.
Andrew, could you give me the Zoom for the
Thursday? They'll be coming out in the next couple of days.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no other questions, we'll close the day. We said that we'll finish around 3:30, and we're pretty much just gone over 3:30. I'll finish off the day with our closing prayers.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes, Brother John.
Wednesday night's meeting, is it face to face?
It's face to face. State Council will be face to face on Wednesday night.
All the details will be coming out tonight, Brother John, for Wednesday's meeting.
All right, I'll see you then, John Miller.
Yeah. And based on the current rules, you know, as long as you feel comfortable, branches can also meet face to face. Okay. I think we had another day of 0 cases again today. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. The Knights' Prayer. Oh God, bless all fellow members of the Knights of Southern Cross and their families. Bless all our activities, inspire us at all times to work for your greater glory and the salvations of all. May the souls of the faithfully departed rest in peace. Amen. Saint Mary the Cross MacKillop prayer. Most loving God, we thank you for the example of Saint Mary the Cross MacKillop, who in the living of the gospel witnessed to human dignity of each person. She faced life's challenges with faith and courage. We pray for her intercession for our needs. We make this prayer through Jesus the Lord. Amen. Father Tony? Is Father Tony still there? Maybe not. Okay. Oh, the divine praises. Blessed be God.
Blessed be your holy name.
Blessed be his holy name. Oh, sorry. Blessed be Jesus Christ, true God and true man.
Blessed be the name of Jesus.
Blessed be his most precious.
Blessed be his most precious blood.
Blessed be his most precious blood.
Blessed be Jesus in the most holy sacrament of the altar.
Blessed be the Holy Spirit, the Paraclete, our helper and guide.
Blessed be the great Mother of God, Mary, most holy.
Blessed be her holy and immaculate conception.
Blessed be her glorious assumption.
Blessed be Mary, Virgin and Mother.
Blessed be Saint Joseph, her most chaste spouse.
Blessed be God in his angels and in his saints.
Holy Mary, Mother of God and Mother of the Church.
Obtain for us many holy priests and religious.
Our Lady, Help of Christians, Patriots of Australia.
Pray for us.
Saint Mary the Cross MacKillop, Patroness of our order.
Pray for us.
If we can say a Hail Mary for all our departed members and their families, and an awareness in our society of the rights of the unborn child. Hail Mary,
full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
And blessed is the fruit of thy womb,
God.
Jesus. And Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now, at the hour of our death.
Lord, bless us and keep us from all evil and bring us to everlasting life.
Amen.
Let us go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
And the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, brothers, for your time today. These things that we did plan face to face, but it couldn't be helped. We were going to do a trial face to face for our metropolitan members and do a trial of for our country members via Zoom. But we end up all doing it via Zoom. So hopefully it's come across all right. And I really appreciate your time for today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brother Chairman.